Chapter 461. In reality, Jingwan had indeed suffered a lot. She had toiled for an entire night and then spent the entire day lying in bed listlessly. Her small eyes were like knives, flying towards Li Hongyuan's body. However, a certain person's skin was too thick and his body's defense was too high. Not only was he not affected at all, he even looked refreshed. Jingwan even suspected that he was like a demon who plucked yin to nourish yang. His complexion was unbelievably good, just like that human-shaped medicine that made people's legs go soft. Originally, the maidservants by her side had never had any thoughts about him, but at this time, they couldn't help but blush and quickly scram even further away. Jingwan sometimes really wanted to say that it was a good thing that he had restrained himself outside. Otherwise, who knew how many hearts would have been broken and how many girls would have done shameless things. Sometimes, she would feel sweet in her heart, but then she thought about how her waist was about to be broken and her legs were like noodles. Even with her physique, she could only imagine how miserably she had been tormented. Because of this, her heart was filled with despair. Li Hongyuan sat on the bedside and looked at Jingwan, whose entire body was covered by the blanket. Only the top of her head could be seen. He reached out to pull the blanket away, but Jingwan held it tightly and said in a low muffled voice, "Scram, scram as far away as your heart can. This princess doesn't want to see you right now." Li Hongyuan slightly raised his eyebrows and curled his lips into a smile. "Scram as far away as my heart can? But this husband's heart is with Wan Wan." Wan Wan's meaning, are you inviting this husband to scram on top of you? Did he have to be so vulgar? Jingwan almost vomited blood. She was really too inexperienced. When facing this person, whether it was dissing him or flirting with him, she would always lose miserably in the end. If she ever won, it was definitely because the other party had let her win. Moreover, no matter what kind of opening it was, it would always end in a certain color. Probably not many people could cultivate such a skill. Li Hongyuan reached out to pull the quilt on Jingwan's head again, but he still couldn't pull it down. Li Hongyuan wasn't annoyed at all. He held his chin and said calmly, "Look, Wan Wan is still so energetic. Can I continue to do something? After all, she is my wife, and I have to take care of her more or less. However, if my wife doesn't need it, then I don't have to worry too much, right?" Jingwan immediately lifted the quilt, revealing her naked body. Her fair skin looked a little pitiful, but it also revealed her boundless lust. Her decadent look caused a certain snake-like beast to become restless again. However, Jingwan was completely like a dead fish. She was listless and did not realize it for a moment. Her gaze was still courting disaster and landed on a certain beast's unspeakable part. "Can you still get hard?" Before she could finish her sentence, Jingwan was slapped in the face. It was the middle of winter, and there were several layers of clothes. They were thick to begin with, and there was an obvious bulge in that area. Jingwan looked up in shock. "Are you really human?" Li Hongyuan saw it clearly, and he was also quite clear about her unfinished words. He smiled faintly. "Wan Wan, what do you think?" She thought she wanted to die. He was indeed a beast. Li Hongyuan saw the obvious fear on Jingwan's face and couldn't help but laugh. He reached out and stuffed her arms back into the quilt, tucking the quilt under his chin. The pleasure of having intimate relations was all about pleasure. If she was afraid of this matter, what fun would there be? In fact, last night was already about the same. The reason why he had such a reaction was completely because he had a natural reaction to her, and he couldn't help it. Li Hongyuan touched her face. "I won't disturb you, but you should eat something before you sleep. Don't harm your body." Jingwan obviously breathed a sigh of relief, and the words, "That's good," were clearly written in her eyes. "Do you have something to do today?" Although he usually tidied up very carefully in the prince's residence. I still need to make the final arrangements for the imperial noble consort. I'm going to write a memorial and submit it. Jingwan nodded. "Have you already decided on the start date?" "I've already sent people to look at it. It's estimated that Imperial Father's people will look at the date on that day. However, I'm afraid that someone will make things difficult, and the date might be brought forward. Speaking of this, Li Hongyuan's eyes seemed to be covered with black fog. Brought forward? If it was a good date, someone should look at the earlier date. However, even if the person who made things difficult wanted to bring forward the date, they wouldn't choose a bad date. They wouldn't be able to get past Lu Qingdi. Her mind raced. The date brought forward is the 2nd of the 2nd month? Li Hongyuan nodded slightly. Knowing what he was worried about, Jingwan smiled indifferently. The 2nd of the 2nd month is fine. It's not a big deal. What I'm worried about is whether the time will be a little rushed. It's fine if the location is close to the capital, but if it's far away, when the imperial edict is issued, the local government will have to make preparations. If someone makes a move, it might cause resentment among the people. We already know the location. Don't worry, the situation will be under control. However, if they disturb your birthday, it will be unforgivable. It was the first time for Li Hongyuan to celebrate his wife's birthday. If it went wrong, it would arouse Li Hongyuan's anger. Jingwan secretly lit a candle for some people in her heart. Good luck to them. After that, Li Hongyuan watched Jingwan eat something and went to do his own things. Jingwan went back to bed and slept. As Li Hongyuan expected, the start date of the altar was set on the 2nd of the 2nd month. It was only his daughter-in-law's birthday. In Lu Qingdi's eyes, it was naturally not as important as the imperial noble consort. Besides, in his opinion, these two things were not related at all. The imperial edict was sent to various places immediately. Fortunately, the people of the Ministry of Works had already gone to various places and made preparations. Otherwise, it would really be a mess. Originally, although there were rumors among the people that the imperial noble consort was the fairy of the 9th heaven, it had nothing to do with them. Could they let the people have enough to eat and wear? One of the laborers in the family was transferred to do manual labor. This manual labor was outside of the normal manual labor. How could people be happy? However, when they finally heard the news, it was really a pleasant surprise. Although it was a manual labor in name, it turned out that they would be paid. Moreover, it was 3 times the pay. Not only that, they would have 3 meals a day, 2 of which were dry and full. There was also fat meat. For many people, they might not even see a bit of meat in a month. Many people never knew what it felt like to have a full stomach. This was like a pie falling from the sky. Moreover, it was clearly written on the imperial edict. Therefore, they did not have to worry about the government acting one way and doing another. In this way, the people who were originally complaining all rushed forward. After all, many families had more than one able-bodied laborer. Even if they didn't want to be paid, they were very willing to do it based on the daily meals. Unfortunately, this time, the people of the government became serious. They didn't need to be fierce. Each family only had one able-bodied laborer and they didn't want him. This time, between brothers, between father and son, they all started to fight for this quota. The people who originally wanted to cause unrest all thought that Li Hongyuan was too cunning. They beat their chests and stamped their feet. Before they were done being angry, they started to sneer when they found out about this situation. Jin Qinhuang caused discord between father and son and brothers. If it was serious, it could even cause someone to die. Even if there was no such thing, they could also do this kind of thing. So, this kind of shit, they didn't believe that Jin Qinhuang could still clean it up. However, these people couldn't laugh for long. However, the next day, the government issued another notice. Father and son, choose the son, brothers, choose the elder. If they schemed against each other because of this matter, once found out, they would be invited to stay in prison for a few days. Moreover, if there was a similar matter in the imperial court in the future, the family would no longer have the chance. Subsequently, several examples were caught in various places. For ordinary people, prison was definitely one of the most taboo places. If they went in, no matter what the reason was, their reputation would be ruined. They would be spurned and unable to raise their heads. Therefore, the effect was very good. Even if they were unconvinced in their hearts, at most, they could only talk about it with their mouths and didn't dare to do anything. Lu Qingdi, who had been a little nervous about this matter, breathed a sigh of relief after he learned about the situation in various places. Although it was for the sake of his most beloved woman, he didn't want to be a fatuous emperor. However, Lu Chengdi had mixed feelings about his son, who had presented the memorial and considered the matter thoroughly. His son had always done things beautifully. If it weren't for the fact that he was the heir to the throne, there was no need to even think about it. However, because of his outstanding performance, Lu Chengdi began to feel a taboo, especially when the courtiers kept praising him. He didn't want his sixth brother to have thoughts that he shouldn't have because of this. That's right. Recently, there were many people praising Li Hongyuan. His momentum had greatly surpassed that of all the other princes. Now that things had developed to this point, who would believe that there was nothing fishy about it? Li Hongyuan hadn't been to the imperial court all this time, but he knew the details of this matter. Jingwan also knew about it. Jingwan was a little worried because of the momentum. Li Hongyuan didn't care. It's just praising before destroying it. It's not worth mentioning. The method isn't old-fashioned, as long as it's useful. Li Hongyuan, who was writing something with his head lowered, looked up at Jingwan. Wan, don't worry. We'll deal with it when it comes. It's just a small matter, not worth mentioning. It's good that you know it in your heart. I just don't know who is involved this time. This is one trick after another, one after another. It looks like they won't stop until they achieve their goal. It's just those few people. There's nothing to think about. They're just worried that I'll threaten them. It's just that if it's too big, won't the fact that you're the son of a ghost be exposed? Wan, you can rest assured about this. Except for Imperial Father and Imperial Concubine Su, everyone else who knew about this matter is dead. I think Imperial Concubine Su also told Li Hongming that if the matter was exposed, Imperial Concubine Su would definitely suffer. Even if the fabricated version was that Imperial Concubine Su died, the Emperor on the throne would be well aware of it. It would be a slap in his face. Imperial Concubine Su doesn't have the guts, and Li Hongming isn't stupid. Of course, if Imperial Father no longer has the ability to punish anyone, it's another matter. But even if it's really exposed, it won't change the final outcome. Since only Imperial Concubine Su and the Emperor know, then how did Prince know? It can't be that they told you, right? Jingwan was curious. It can't be that you were born with it, right? Born with it? That's a good excuse. The implication was that it wasn't the case. But it was obvious that he didn't want to tell her the real reason. Jingwan clicked her tongue and didn't pursue the matter. The Emperor should be summoning you soon, right? Probably. Li Hongyuan said carelessly. Speaking of which, these people are really energetic. They can't even take care of their own affairs, yet they still seize the opportunity to scheme against outsiders. None of them are tired of it. Having power in one's hands did indeed bring a lot of convenience and benefits, but was it really that important? Perhaps because of her previous life, Jingwan didn't understand it as deeply as those people. If they can achieve their goal, no matter how tired they are, they'll probably be happy. Throughout history, not many people who have sat on the throne have lived long lives. It's not that they don't work hard. This is known to all, but it still doesn't stop countless people from wanting that position. They can do anything, they can give up everything, anything. Jingwan was surprised that a certain someone could see through it so clearly. Then, your husband still wants to live to 100 years old with you. Jingwan was speechless. But when she thought about how a certain someone planned so many things, she knew that he was probably busier than the Emperor. But in her eyes, he was idle all day long. So, she didn't need to worry about him working hard. In this way, she didn't need to worry about him being tired. There was a knock on the door of the study. Master, there's a message from the palace. They want you to go to the morning court tomorrow. Li Hongyuan didn't respond, and the people outside quietly retreated. I thought that the Emperor would summon you alone, but now he wants you to go to the morning court directly. What does he want? He just wants your husband to see with his own eyes how popular your husband is now. He wants to see if your husband will become arrogant because of all the flattery. You don't know who you are, you don't know what you're capable of. You also want to fight for the throne. Jingwan was disgusted by such methods. She might as well have suppressed him directly. If he didn't give him any hope, then he would have made him despair to the very end. Why did he have to use such a method of giving him hope and then ruthlessly smashing him down? This was his favorite son. A father like this could only be sad. Jingwan looked at Li Hongyuan. Fortunately, her husband wasn't the kind of person who could be manipulated at will. He also didn't have any feelings for his old man. Going to the morning court on such a cold day was definitely a very torturous thing. Although it was warmer now, it was still far from enough, especially in the morning. Li Hongyuan took his time. He didn't plan to enter the palace early and then wait for the morning court to start. When he entered the court leisurely, the morning court was about to end, and the ministers had almost finished talking about the things to be reported. Lu Chengdi rubbed his temples and cursed in his heart. It should be known that the frequency of his catchphrase in front of Li Hongyuan was getting lower and lower. However, he still had to curse from time to time to feel satisfied. Lu Chengdi wanted to stop him outside, but when he thought about his purpose and thought about the bad temper of this bastard, if he really stopped him outside, he would definitely turn around and leave the palace. Come in. Li Hongyuan, dressed in the imperial robe of a prince, came in unhurriedly. He was handsome and elegant. No one could compare with his appearance. Every time he did this, people would sigh in their hearts. How could there be such a perfect person in the world? However, when he spoke and acted, all the good impressions would be shattered in seconds. It was really heartbreaking. Aken pays respect to Fu Huang. Long live Fu Huang. No need for formalities. Lu Chengdi was a bit weak. Compared to others, his feelings were the deepest. On one hand, he was gratified, and on the other hand, he was distressed. On the other hand, he hoped that he would be outstanding, and on the other hand, he was afraid that he would covet the throne. Lu Chengdi naturally praised his son as well, saying that he did a good job in building the altar for the imperial Gu Fei. As soon as his voice fell, the ministers echoed one after another, praising Li Hongyuan as if he was rare in the heavens, unparalleled on earth, a dragon steed and phoenix chick. It seemed that compared to him, everyone else was trash. First, this time's matter was indeed done well, and it wasn't an empty promise. Second, the money that was distributed all came from Jin Qin Wang Fu, but it was under the name of Lu Cheng Emperor and the entire imperial court. Maybe they could even get some benefits from it. Third, they raised Jin Qin Wang high up. Now, the emperor was afraid of these things. Once they were rejected by the emperor, then there was nothing to worry about. Therefore, it was only a few words, but it was naturally exaggerated. Seeing that Lu Chengdi's face was obviously gloomy, some people thought that they had achieved their goal and spoke more energetically, but they didn't see their own master pinching people's faces. As the saying goes, going too far is as bad as falling short. Lu Chengdi wasn't a fool. How could he not see the intention of these people? They didn't see that some of the ministers, whose expressions had changed slightly, didn't care at all. They even twirled their beards from time to time. Could it be that these people were also planted by Jin Qin Wang? It was just that these people were in the limelight for a while and forgot themselves. If they continued, they were afraid that Jin Qin Wang would be fine, but the others would suffer. Some of the people who held the right to speak hurriedly stood up and cut off their words. They also suppressed Li Hongyuan's reputation. And those people who were talking non-stop just now seemed to have reacted. Cold sweat faintly appeared on their heads. They quickly returned to their ranks, lowered their eyes, and didn't dare to speak again. Li Hongyuan, on the other hand, had the same expression from beginning to end. There wasn't the slightest bit of complacency from being flattered. Lu Chengdi faced Li Hongyuan. Lao Lu, this time's performance was excellent. Zhan wants to reward you. What do you want? Imperial Gu Fei is Urchin's birth mother. Doing something is what she should do. There is no need for Fu Huang to reward her. Those are two different things. What do you want? There's no harm in saying it. Fu Huang really wants to reward me? Golden mouth and jade words. Lu Chengdi said so, but his heart was somewhat anxious. He was really afraid that he would ask for an exorbitant price. After all, this evil creature had done things that he couldn't do. So, Fu Huang sent people to various places to find 100 kinds of exotic flowers and herbs for Aken. Don't alarm the local government, and don't disturb the common people, Li Hongyuan said lightly, sounding really impolite. Lu Qingdi's expression was a bit subtle. 100 kinds of flowers and herbs. It really wasn't a big deal. However, to be so considerate of the common people, this son, wasn't he? Lu Qingdi's expression didn't change, but his heart was already full of twists and turns. Are you asking for this for your wife? Many people in the capital knew that Jingwan was good at and liked to raise flowers and plants. Even some important officials in the imperial court would fight for the flowers and plants in her hands. Is there anything wrong? Li Hongyuan was very indifferent. It's not that there's anything wrong, but you are a dignified prince. Every time you open your mouth, you talk about your wife. Have you ever considered other people's feelings? Especially the one sitting on the throne, who is your father. As a son, facing his son in front of his mother can cause trouble, let alone in front of his father. That's pure love. What a good-for-nothing. Not really. You really dote on your wife. Lu Qingdi's words seemed to be mocking him, but also seemed to be happy to see it. Not really. After all, it's what she deserves. I'm a big man, how can I hide it from her? Oh, Lao Lu, you sound like this matter is all thanks to your wife. Lu Qingdi was interested. Otherwise, even if you think that it was Urchin's idea, you still need to have some basis. Aken grew up under the sun of heaven. What I ate and wore were the best things. The people I met were either rich or noble. Does Imperial Father think that Aken would know what the lives of ordinary people are like? Father, you should feel lucky that you didn't say something like, why not eat meat paste? If you don't know the suffering of people, how can you know what they need, and how can you know what kind of trouble it will cause? No matter how thick-skinned I am, I can't take this kind of credit. After all, it can't withstand scrutiny and can be exposed easily. Li Hongyuan's tone was calm, but there was no lack of sarcasm in his words. However, no one could say that he was wrong. Lu Qingdi was a little embarrassed. Well, he really didn't think of this before. However, even if he didn't think of it, didn't the entire imperial court think of it? In an instant, Lu Qingdi started a conspiracy theory again. I don't know what those people who keep flattering me are thinking. Are they going to jump out and accuse me of relying on women after I take credit for this? Hearing Li Hongyuan's words, Lu Qingdi felt more and more that this was the case. Therefore, he wanted to mess with Li Hongyuan but failed. He even got himself into trouble. It was a typical case of losing the wife and losing the soldiers. Your Highness, your words are too serious. Princess consort and you are husband and wife. Whether it's her credit or your idea, it's normal to take it on your head. After all, there are some things that a man can do but a woman can't. Elder Lu of the cabinet stood out and said unhurriedly. As soon as he said this, many people agreed with him. Li Hongyuan sneered. I'm sorry. I'm a man. I can't do this kind of thing. Besides, what's the use of this credit? It's for the sake of Princess Consort's mother-in-law who passed away, for the sake of my father and the imperial family's reputation, and for the sake of the people's lives. I don't want to make trouble. At this point, this matter couldn't be forcefully blamed on Li Hongyuan. After all, no matter how much he said, it was actually nonsense. The most important thing was that Lu Qingdi didn't want Li Hongyuan to have too high of a reputation. Luo Aiqing is a good girl raised by your family. The Luo family's upbringing should be a good example. Luo Peishan hurriedly stood out. Your Majesty, you're too kind. It's all. Lu Qingdi waved his hand. Luo Aiqing doesn't need to be so modest. Zhen has seen how Lao Lu's wife is. Don't say that she married into the imperial family. With this evil creature's virtue, it can only be because he is close to ink. Lao Lu's wife is able to keep her heart and constantly admonish this evil creature to restrain himself. This is all because of your family's good upbringing. Come, Jin Qinhuang Fei is virtuous and virtuous. He fiercely praised her, not to be outdone by the praise that some court officials had given to Li Hongyuan. Then, he bestowed a lot of things, and the flowers and plants that Li Hongyuan wanted were also granted. Then, he gave Luo Peishan a lot of things as a reward. Smart people knew that Lu Chengdi was trying his best to exaggerate Jin Qinhuang Fei's contributions and weaken Jin Qinhuang Fei's reputation. After all, no matter how high a woman's reputation was, it would not stir up a storm in the whirlpool of power. At most, it would be the benefits that the emperor bestowed. Why would they care about that? In fact, this was also the purpose of the other princes' successive calculations. Although the process was different, but in the end, it was all the same. Now, outsiders only knew that Jin Qinhuang Fei was benevolent, but did not mention Jin Qinhuang Fei at all. However, according to Li Hongyuan's thinking, this was also what he wanted. He really didn't need fame at all. This thing, no matter how high it was, in fact, it couldn't affect who would sit on the throne. Unless it was the kind of person who cared a lot about fame and hoped to become a wise emperor, otherwise, there really weren't many people who would work hard and be careful for this. As the saying goes, water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize a boat. However, unless it was extremely cruel and made the people unable to make a living, there weren't many uprisings by ordinary people. More often, it was the ambition of the superior. For women, it was different. A good reputation was more beneficial to them, especially when it was praised by the superior. For example, now, if someone said that Jing Wan wasn't good, a sentence, the emperor said that she was good. You mean, the emperor said that he was wrong, could block that person's mouth. So, in the end, it was a happy ending. Jing Wan listened to the servant girl's retelling of the rumors outside and couldn't help but blush. Ah Yuan, isn't this too much? Those things, weren't you the one who brought it up? That's right, but... Then it's fine. Why bother so much? If you're thin-skinned and embarrassed, just pretend that you don't know. Jing Wan could only maintain her silence once again. Forget it, there was no need to think about those useless things. The next day was the second day of the second month. The night before, the entire Jin Qinhuang Fu was brightly lit and began to prepare for their mistress's birthday. Although they were busy, they were all full of spirit. However, Jing Wan wasn't that busy. She still did what she needed to do. After eating breakfast, she changed and dressed up. The servant girls did their best to dress her up beautifully without losing the dignity of a Qinhuang Fei. After dressing up, she turned in a circle in front of her lord husband. Women dress up for their sweetheart. Jing Wan now also had this tendency. However, Jin Qinhuang today seemed to be somewhat lacking in interest. He held the book seriously and didn't look at Jing Wan's body. Jing Wan expressed that she wasn't happy. Then, Li Hongyuan finally gave her a charitable look and faintly opened his mouth. If you don't want the guests to wait for you to be in the room and unable to leave, then be a bit more reserved. Don't seduce this husband. Jing Wan almost choked. This psychopath, animal, hooligan. And said that she wasn't reserved? Seduce him? Just let him look at the clothes and makeup, that's all. Only a pervert like him would have a brain full of yellow waste all day. So, it could be said that the living king of hell was completely afraid that she wouldn't be able to control herself, so he picked up the book to read and calm his heart. Jing Wan bluntly slapped his face. Then she angrily walked out. Li Hongyuan rolled up the book in his hand and propped his chin up. The corner of his mouth hooked up into a pure smile. So far, he was very satisfied with his days. Even if there weren't a few little bugs jumping around in front of him and looking for trouble, but the flaws couldn't obscure the beauty. After sitting for a while, Li Hongyuan got up and casually threw the book in his hand and walked out. Finding Jing Wan, he took a hand. Wan's birthday is today. How about looking at the birthday gift this husband has prepared? Sure. Although Li Hongyuan had given her too many things, she was still looking forward to her birthday gift. Giving a gift was naturally to cater to her preferences. The things that Jing Wan liked were really simple and not simple at the same time. From Jing Wan's point of view, her husband must have gotten her some exotic flowers and herbs from somewhere. Jingwan guessed wrong this time. Following Li Hongyuan to a courtyard at the back, a cat walked elegantly towards Jingwan and the others. It wasn't afraid of strangers at all. It even squatted in front of Jingwan and meowed. Although it was pure black, it was small and looked chubby. One of its eyes was blue and the other was purple. It looked elegant and noble, but its size was unbelievably cute. Jingwan, who had a soft spot for fur, couldn't help but feel that it was adorable. She bent down and wanted to pick it up. Li Hongyuan used a little strength and pulled Jingwan back. What did this husband say? Wan seems to have ignored it. Jingwan was a little stunned for a moment. What and what? Then she finally remembered. So, even though you've given it to me, I can only look at it and can't touch it? Li Hongyuan chuckled. His smile was like a spring breeze, but the words that followed were especially cruel. If you hug it, this prince will get someone to make it into fertilizer. Wan, think carefully. Since you've given it to me but won't let me touch it, you might as well not give it to me, Jingwan complained. This man was simply making trouble for no reason. Since that's the case, this husband will immediately send it away. Send it to be used as fertilizer. Jingwan gritted her teeth. She wanted to bite this bastard to death. Jingwan felt that she would probably have an unlucky year. On the day of her birthday, she had only opened her eyes for a short while, and she had already been angered by her husband twice. Jingwan could only look at the little kitten in front of her. A certain perverted psychopath could do what he said. She'd better not act rashly and let the little fellow lose its life in vain. However, this little fellow had obviously gone through strict training. It was the first time it saw Jingwan. It seemed to be very close and attached to her, but it didn't directly pounce on Jingwan. It was obvious that it wanted to please Jingwan, and it was also in line with the idea of plotting against the King of Hell. Li Hongyuan held Jingwan's hand and continued to move forward. Although he had expected that he would give her more than just a kitten, Jingwan knew that someone must have spent a lot of manpower, material resources, and time on this. There were common cats and dogs of various breeds. Although they were all cubs, they were of different sizes. Some were slim, some were round, some were lively, and some were cute. Then there were lions, leopards, mountain leopards, foxes, deer, and so on. In short, cute and beautiful animals could be found here. What surprised Jingwan the most was a snow-white fox. There was a kind of fox in the snow mountains in the north. It was snow-white and had a strange fragrance. In the valley of the Summer Palace, someone had mentioned this kind of fox. Now, it was actually in front of her. According to Jingwan's knowledge, the population of the fox was very small, and it was even more difficult to catch. It lived in the north, in the cold areas, deep in the mountains and forests, and was covered by snow all year round. It could be said that there was no such fox in the Qi Yuan, and it was extremely precious. Jingwan couldn't help but touch its fur again and again. It was soft and smooth, and the touch was really admirable. At this time, Li Hongyuan didn't refuse, but when Jingwan completely ignored him, he said, Wan, if I use this white fur to make a collar for you, it should be very beautiful, don't you think? Moreover, it is said that the fox's fur will still have a strange fragrance after a few years after its death. It is its good fortune to give it to you. When Li Hongyuan said the first sentence, Jingwan retracted her hand. Damn, this narrow-minded man. In addition to these, did a Yuan prepare any other gifts for me? Li Hongyuan looked at her quietly for a moment. Wan, for a little beast, you scolded me in your heart and changed the topic with a seductive smile. This kind of beast, I think it really shouldn't be kept alive. Jingwan felt that maybe she should be mentally prepared for death. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/10342228 HTML. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicken.com. Biku Gu mobile reading website, Bicken.com. Chapter 462. Jingwan felt that she should be mentally prepared to die. Therefore, it was not a good thing to have a husband who seemed to be able to see through everything. Ah Yuan, if you kill this little fox, I will be sad. Can you bear to do that? Jingwan sent a tearful emoji. Then, Wan, do you have the heart to make your husband sad because of a little bastard? Li Hongyuan asked, quietly. This is not comparable at all. It was clearly you, a man made of vinegar, who was narrow-minded. Of course, it is not comparable. After all, I am your husband. What about it? Huh? Li Hongyuan chuckled. Jingwan inexplicably read the sadness in his expression. It was as if the person in front of him was a scumbag woman who could put a beast in front of him. It was as if he wanted to dig out his heart for her, but she did not cherish it. Jingwan was burdened with a sense of guilt. Li Hongyuan, you are good. You win. Sister admits defeat. Jingwan reached out to pull Li Hongyuan's face. Fine. In the future, I will only look at these little things. I will not touch, or hug them. I will only touch, hug, and kiss you. Is that enough? Why don't you just fall into a vat of vinegar and drown to death? How shameless. Her eyebrows curved into a smile. Li Hongyuan held Jingwan's hand and took it away from his face. He approached her, lowered his head, and pressed his forehead against hers. Wan, do you think your husband will be stupid enough to drink vinegar? Before I die of vinegar, I will definitely kill the person who made me jealous first, and then I will take you with me. You are my person in life, and you are my soul in death. Even if you are a few years younger than me, don't expect to die before me in this life. Do you understand? His warm breath sprayed on Jingwan's face. The king of hell was also crazy at this time. However, Jingwan was not afraid at all. She reached out and wrapped her arms around her husband's waist. She raised her head slightly and closed her eyes. They could clearly feel each other's eyelashes. I will remember Ah Yuan's words. Ah Yuan, don't forget it. I'll use the years to prove it. No matter how much he said, it was all just empty words. As for the eyesore, fragrant fox, it was quickly carried away by a discerning servant. They had clearly come to see the gifts, but in the end, the two of them were so intimately hugging each other. The maidservants expressed that they had seen this scene many times and believed that this was the norm between husband and wife. They were worried that they would not be happy after getting married. Master can't you restrain yourself a little and avoid taboo a little? So to say, Jingwan still did not realize how much dog food she had spread to her man, and how much dog food she had abused. Of course, those who were forced to eat dog food were not all choked. There were also those who learned from it. Suddenly, a mournful cat's cry came from the direction of the courtyard door, breaking this tranquil beauty. Li Hongyuan's face did not change, but the people next to him clearly felt the coldness. Speaking of which, who was so bold in the Wangfu to do such a thing? Jingwan pulled Li Hongyuan's hand. Let's go and have a look? No need. Li Hongyuan did not move, but in a moment, Muan had already come in with people. Seeing them, Jingwan couldn't help laughing. Yu Yao, you came so early? Cousin-in-law. The little girl's face was a little uncomfortable, as if she had done something wrong, especially when she secretly raised her eyes to look at Li Hongyuan. What happened just now was most likely her masterpiece. Yu Yao, what's wrong? Jingwan asked with a smile. Cousin-in-law, when I came in just now, I saw your cat. It was sitting there obediently, so I reached out to hold it, but it didn't let me. I was so anxious that I accidentally grabbed its fur. It struggled too hard, so. Yu Yao slowly raised a handful of black fur in her hand. No wonder it cried so miserably. Looking at the fur, Jingwan was sure that it was the little cutie she saw when she came in just now. She felt a little sorry for the little guy. It's okay. You believe that Yu Yao didn't do it on purpose, right? Yu Yao hurriedly nodded. I really didn't do it on purpose. Jingwan reached out to touch her head to comfort her. She turned around. Muan, ask people to guard the courtyard door. Don't let the little guys run out again. Also, inform the servants in the courtyard to capture all the animals after we leave. There are so many guests in the mansion today, so don't offend them. Most importantly, there would definitely be a lot of children coming. They liked small animals, but not everyone knew how to cherish them. Sometimes, children were naive and cruel, and they didn't think that it was wrong to abuse those animals. In fact, in the eyes of those high officials and nobles, they were just small pets and weren't worth anything. Jingwan didn't want such a thing to happen right under her nose. Some reasons couldn't be reasoned with, so she could only take precautions herself. Yes. Muwen responded and hurriedly went to do it. This place could be considered a small rare beasts garden. Because it was found by Li Hongyuan to give to Jingwan, naturally, there couldn't be any mistakes. Therefore, at least one person was taking care of each little guy, and it could be a professional. When Li Hongyuan and Jingwan came, they had already been sent away. Because their presence would definitely make the prince, who had brought his wife, unhappy. Therefore, the number of people in the rare beasts garden was definitely much more than expected. Your Highness, why don't you go to the front yard first, and I'll show you Yao around? Jingwan said. Li Hongyuan glanced at Yu Yao. His good mood and good atmosphere had already been ruined. Could it be that he still had to accompany a little girl? Therefore, there was really no need to stay here. He nodded and directly left. Yu Yao stood beside Jingwan and made a face at Li Hongyuan's back. Cousin-in-law, cousin has always been so fierce. I think you're the only one who can stand him. If it were me, I wouldn't care about him. Jingwan couldn't help laughing. Your cousin is treating outsiders, but he is very nice to me. Moreover, your cousin is at most a little cold. How is he fierce? He is such a handsome man. Of course, these were just thoughts in her mind. Jingwan took Yu Yao's hand and began to walk around. Yu Yao, why are you alone? Where are your parents? When Great Elder Princess and Prince Consort Jiang came, there was no reason for the people outside not to inform them. Sometimes, children could not be restrained and ran fast, so they were not a threat and were let in. They are at home. I don't know when they will go out, so I came here first with them. Yu Yao giggled. Cousin-in-law, when will your parents come? In Great Elder Princess's mansion, there were not many people close to her because of her position. As for Yu Yao, she was somewhat similar to her mother in nature. She was proud and casual. She was naturally close to those she liked. Other than that, blood relations could not make them close. As for the 6th Miss and the 7th Miss of the Luo family, Yu Yao was willing to pay attention to them at first, perhaps because of Jingwan. Later, they really played together. I'm afraid they have to wait a little longer. Oh. Yu Yao was a little depressed, but in a moment, she became happy again. Cousin-in-law, why are there so many small animals in your mansion? What are they? I haven't seen many of them. They all look so cute. Leaning on the edge of the specially made exquisite and beautiful fence, Lin Mengya's eyes were shining. She couldn't wait to go up, hold them all in her arms, and give them a big hug. It's not my birthday. Your cousin specially came to find me. Although she was facing a little girl, Jingwan wanted to show off. After she finished speaking, she realized it and secretly despised herself. It's my cousin's birthday gift to you. Yu Yao's little face fell again. If it were a little rabbit, its ears would have drooped. Yu Yao, you like it? Then I'll give you 2, okay? Can I? The rabbit's ears should have stood up again. The child's face was really childish. The weather in June really changed very quickly. But it's my cousin's gift to you. Isn't it a little inappropriate? Yu Yao was a little hesitant. Her mother said that a woman, as long as it was a gift from her husband, she could not easily ask for it, even if she was the owner. It was not as simple as a beloved thing. In fact, Yu Yao did not understand it very well, but it did not prevent her from listening to her mother's words. As for why Great Elder Princess said such words to her daughter, well, it was purely setting an example. Jingwan understood in her heart. As the youngest daughter of Great Elder Princess, Yu Yao was doted on. Perhaps she was a little spoiled, but in general, she was actually taught very well by Great Elder Princess. Perhaps it was because the former daughter disappointed Great Elder Princess, so she devoted more effort to the younger daughter. It doesn't matter. Cousin-in-law, there are many more. But after Yu Yao takes them back, you must take good care of them. Even if you don't like them in the future, don't throw them away. Send them back to me, okay? Yu Yao promised and then began to choose the beloved pets to take back with starry eyes. Speaking of which, there were many cats and dogs in Great Elder Princess's mansion, but most of them were relatively common breeds. After all, Yu Yao was just a little girl. In the capital city, even if there were people who raised rare birds for high officials and nobles to enjoy, Yu Yao had never seen them. At this moment, when she saw all kinds of animals, she asked Jing Wan what they were one by one. Jing Wan answered patiently and thought in her heart that in many aspects, she had more advantages than in her previous life. For example, there were all kinds of strange and magical animals in the natural world. Even very young children could see them. Even if they could not see them in real life, they could learn about them from TV and the internet. But now, even the rich might not see many of them in their lives. Yu Yao's understanding of these animals mostly came from books. Now, she combined the images in the words with the reality, and she was amazed again and again. However, looking at these little guys, she doubted whether they were really fierce, powerful, and even man-eating beasts. Although cousin-in-law said that these were all cubs and were not aggressive, was there such a big gap between adults and cubs? Xiao Yu Yao's heart began to stir. She wanted to see their adult bodies. Cousin-in-law, can you give me a lion cub and a tiger cub? Jing Wan blinked. Shouldn't girls like cats and dogs? Yu Yao, lions and tigers only look very cute now. In the future, when they grow up, they will be completely different. I know. I just want to see how fierce they are when they grow up. Then you can come to see them when they grow up. But I want to see them grow up. Cousin-in-law, can't you give them to me? That's not it. Yu Yao, it's like this. If it's a kitten or a puppy, I can give it to you directly. But lions and tigers are too dangerous. So, I have to ask your mother first and she agrees before I can give it to you. Jing Wan looked at Yu Yao. Could it be that this little girl actually had a valiant heart? Okay. Yu Yao was obedient and did not make a scene. Yu Yao also saw the fragrant fox, and was pleasantly surprised for a while. She lovingly stroked it, and her whole body exuded an aura of liking. A fox was very rare. The energy spent on this fox might be more than that of other animals. Therefore, she was afraid that she could not give it away. Of course, it was not because it was precious that she did not want to give it away, but because she could not let down the man who gave it to her. Jing Wan thought about how to refuse Yu Yao without making her sad. After that, even when she saw other little guys, Yu Yao kept holding it. Until, Princess, old Madam Luo, young madam, miss and young master are here. Ah, they are finally here. Yu Yao was about to put down the fox. She turned her head and was a little reluctant. In the end, she put it down. Jing Wan gently raised her eyebrows. Did she not intend to take it at all? Yu Yao, you don't want it? Jing Wan was purely curious about Yu Yao's thoughts. She did not intend to not give it to her and deliberately provoked her. I want it, but there is only one. If I take it away, won't my cousin-in-law lose it? Mother said that no matter what it is, if you like it, you can't take it away from others. Yu Yao was like a little adult, serious. Indeed, there was more than one tiger and lion before. Yu Yao is really a good child. Jing Wan touched her head. This fox, your cousin-in-law really can't give it to you. Your cousin found it with great difficulty. Well, if your mother agrees, I will give you 2 little lions and 2 little tigers, okay? Thank you, cousin-in-law. Yu Yao nodded with a smile. Then cousin-in-law, can I take one to the front to play now? Didn't you say that they are still young and have been trained, so they won't hurt people? I will take good care of them. Looking at Yu Yao's expectant little eyes, Jing Wan hesitated for a moment, but finally agreed. Yu Yao took a little lion cub and happily went to find her playmates. Jing Wan asked someone to find a person to take care of the little lion cub. It turned out to be a delicate young boy, who looked at most 13 years old. Standing in front of Jing Wan, he was a little reserved. Jing Wan nodded slightly. Bai Shao, take him there and keep an eye on Yu Yao. Don't let the little tiger cub hurt people. The place was prepared for children to play. After that, it would basically be their world, and there might be some women. Although it was an outsider, it was not a big deal for a young boy to be watched by someone. Yes, Your Highness. Bai Shao understood tacitly. On the other side, Jing Wan also went to meet the Luo family, who had been led in. Madame Luo led a group of people to greet Jing Wan. Although it was her birthday, because she was still young, there was naturally no birthday greetings. If a group of lineal elders really birthday greetings, it would purely be a waste of her life. However, because of her status, a few auspicious words were still necessary. After the formalities were over, Jing Wan hurried forward to help Madame Luo up. Grandmother. Then she called them one by one and said with a smile, I was wondering when you would come over. Now is the right time. I just wanted to come over early to see if I could help. There are only 2 people in the prince's mansion, you and the prince, and I didn't see you call anyone from the Internal Affairs Department. Madame Luo said, there are more than enough people in the prince's mansion, so we didn't ask for anyone from the Internal Affairs Department. But when we entertain the guests later, we may have to trouble you to help us entertain the madams of each mansion. Of course. When a married daughter had something to do in the family, if there were no elders, it was normal for the maternal family to help. Even if the elders and brothers were there was nothing wrong with the maternal family helping the daughter. In the royal family, it was naturally a little special. When the princes came of age, they would be sent out one by one. Naturally, they couldn't rely on their parents to take care of things. Among the brothers, they were also of extremely noble status. At most, they would greet other brothers or uncles in the royal family. There was no reason for them to help other guests. Therefore, most people could only choose people from the Internal Affairs Department. If they wanted the princess's maternal family to help, they had to be presentable and presentable. Obviously, there was no problem at all with the Luo family. According to Madame Luo's status, it was enough to entertain those old princesses. After the Luo family came to visit, there would be people coming one after another. At this time, there was a need to pay attention to who came first. For Jing Wan, it wasn't the first time she had met people like this, so she was able to handle it with ease. After all, she only needed to greet most of the people and get someone to lead them to the flower pavilion or garden. She didn't need to care about them anymore. These people, whether they were old, young, or young, they could find their own place to go. Socializing was almost an instinct for these people, and those who needed her company were a minority. There were also some who didn't even need Jing Wan to greet them personally. She just needed to send a maidservant or a nanny. Li Hongyuan's side was even simpler. Most people were still in the yamen, and it was not time to wait for him to come. Besides, even if they came, Li Hongyuan just sat there without moving. His brothers and relatives of the royal family didn't go to greet him, so no one could do anything to him. Even if they were unhappy, they could only hold it in. Thinking about it carefully, it seemed that this was the first time that Li Hongyuan personally welcomed a guest. Jin Wangfu had been established for several years, but it had never done anything. The first time was when Li Hongyuan got married. At that time, there were many people who helped him to entertain the guests. What he needed to do was to go through the wedding agenda, and then drink some wine during the banquet. Other than that, he didn't care about anything else. However, Li Hongyuan gave face to Jing Wan today. Those who needed to be personally welcomed, he went. Because of this, those who saw him, including his brothers who came relatively early, were all flattered. Some were even frightened. That scene was really a bit funny. Jing Wan originally just casually asked about the situation here. When she learned about this situation, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Each and every one of them was really used to being abused by the living king of hell. The living king of hell just did something that normal people would do, but the reaction was so big. Of course, no one would care about this kind of thing. People like Jing Wan were just watching the fun. After the more crowded wave of guests, Jing Wan also sat down. The people present, other than those in the imperial palace, were the most distinguished group of people in the entire Qi Yuan. They carried a decent smile and said decent words. Whether it was drinking tea or occasionally eating something, they were all elegant. Their words and actions were the best examples. These people might be used to it and didn't feel that there was any problem. However, in the eyes of outsiders, especially those who were more lively, just looking at them would make them feel tired and flustered. Jing Wan, as the host, from time to time took the opportunity to entertain the guests. She got up and walked around. She adapted well. This was the first time Jing Wan held a birthday banquet in the Prince Yu's mansion. Naturally, she wanted to make it perfect. From the tea and snacks, she thought about the tastes of these people and what they didn't eat. As for the others, from the elderly to the children who were crying piteously for food, she made special preparations for them. Even though Jing Wan was now the princess, she couldn't be influenced by the concept of hierarchy. Obviously, she was more considerate of others. Even if she didn't personally prepare anything for today's banquet, she would give orders when she thought of something. In particular, the entire Prince Yu's mansion was arranged with people everywhere. It was absolutely impossible for anyone to cheat someone to do something in a certain place. In this way, even if someone tried to nitpick at a bone in an egg, they could only pick out some minor flaws at most. Even if they didn't say anything, many people were sure of Miss Luo's upbringing in their hearts. Regardless of whether the men would like such a woman, these women, especially those who were of a certain age, liked her very much. Nowadays, many marriages belonged to the same sex. Mothers-in-law liked their daughters-in-law, and fathers-in-law liked their son-in-law. If they liked their daughters-in-law, they would make the final decision. As for their children's opinions, whether they liked them or not, and what they liked were ignored. When they were talking happily, a maid in the mansion hurried in and said, "Your Highness, young Master Wangzhu of Great Elder Princess's mansion is fighting with the second young master of Prince Kang's mansion and the heir of Prince Gong's mansion." Before Jing Wan did anything, Great Elder Princess, the concubine of Prince Kong, and the concubine of Princess Gong changed their faces. No matter what the reason was, Yu Yao was an elder or a girl, and those young masters were juniors or boys. From this point of view, the latter was in the wrong. Looking at Great Elder Princess's gloomy face, the concubine of Prince Kong and the concubine of Princess Gong, who was used to being arrogant, couldn't help complaining in her heart, let alone the concubine of Prince Kong. In front of a group of concubines and princesses, she could only pretend to be the background. Prince Kong didn't have a concubine, but he had to send a kind of child to Prince Jin's mansion, so she could only bear it. After she came, naturally, she was extremely embarrassed. The two concubines hurriedly apologized to Great Elder Princess. Great Elder Princess ignored them and took Jing Wan to the place where the accident happened. Great Elder Princess knew what her daughter was like. After all, she was already 10 years old, so she was not a little girl. Most of the time, she thought that she was an adult and disdained to argue with children. She thought that she had good etiquette and was a little lady. If there was no reason, how could she fight with her juniors? When they rushed over, although the fight had been pulled apart, the scene was still chaotic, and the crying was incessant. Jing Wan found that her younger brothers and sisters were probably involved in the fight, and there seemed to be more than 2 young masters from the prince's mansion. Yu Yao didn't cry, but her hair and clothes were a little messy. She lowered her head and hugged the bloody and powerless little tiger in her arms. Her heart couldn't help but skip a few beats. When they saw the adults coming, they seemed to see their backbone and stepped forward to complain. "Stand still. It's improper." Great Elder Princess's tone was not heavy, but they all became obedient. Great Elder Princess didn't rush to protect her children, nor did she go forward to comfort them. Instead, she glanced at Jing Wan. Obviously, she wanted to let Jing Wan deal with it. After all, this was Prince Jin's mansion, and Jing Wan was her adopted daughter. If it were in other mansions, it wouldn't be like this. Jing Wan understood and said, "Go and ask the doctor to come here." Bai Xiao, what's going on? Tell me. Bai Xiao stepped forward and squatted. Your Highness, it's like this. Master Wang and the two girls of the Luo family were playing with the little tiger and feeding it. The second young master of Prince Kang's mansion and the heir of Prince Gong's mansion also wanted it, but Master Wang refused to give it to them. They quarreled with each other, and the matter was temporarily settled. But not long after, the second young master and the heir of Prince Gong's mansion gathered the two young masters of their mansions and the two commanderies' mansions. They snatched the little tiger and threw it to the ground hard. If it didn't fall to death, they picked it up and smashed it to the ground. While smashing it, the heir of Prince Gong said, "What I can't get, no one else can't get." Because there were so many people and the little tiger was surrounded in the middle, we didn't dare to force forward, for fear of hurting the young masters. Finally, the little tiger was thrown to the feet of Master Wang by the heir of Prince Gong's mansion. Its head was covered with blood and it was dying. Master Wang was so anxious that he rushed up and fought with the heir of Prince Gong. Later, Master Wang bit the heir of Prince Gong's mansion hard. The heir of Prince Gong asked the second young master for help, but the second young master pulled Master Wang's hair. The two girls of the Luo family saw that Master Wang was bullied, so they came forward to help, and then the other young masters came forward to help. Leaving aside the details, the cause and effect were already very clear. However, Bai Xiao did mention some details, but these details were all about princely heir of Prince Gong. Great Elder Princess glanced coldly at the princess consort. The princess consort's face turned blue and white. She did notice Great Elder Princess's gaze, but she pretended not to see it and stepped forward aggressively. "You be *tsh, how dare you slander princely heir of Prince Gong?" She raised her hand and was about to slap her. However, Bai Xiao was a martial artist, so how could she be easily slapped? Moreover, she didn't talk nonsense. If she was slapped, she didn't care, but her master would be disgraced. Therefore, she took a step back without hesitation. The princess consort's face turned darker when she failed to slap Bai Xiao. "How dare you dodge?" She slapped Bai Xiao again. Qin, Great Elder Princess's face was cold. She was used to being arrogant. Except for Emperor Lu Cheng, no one could make her lower her head. This niece-in-law dared to deliberately ignore her. Her son did something wrong, but she didn't discipline him and even dared to be fierce. How could she not be angry? Slander? How dare she, a maid, say slander in front of so many people? Do you think everyone is blind? You have taught such a cruel and domineering son. You are not a good person either. The princess consort didn't dare to slap Bai Xiao again. She was so impolitely reprimanded by Great Elder Princess in front of so many people. Her face turned red, and her nails almost dug into the flesh of her palms. She was even more resentful in her heart and cursed Great Elder Princess in all kinds of ways. Great Elder Princess sneered. She knew very well what the princess consort was thinking. Some people were like this and never knew how to reflect on themselves. You should also have a good talk with the princess consort. One by one, tell her clearly and in detail. So many children were involved in this group fight, as long as they weren't blind, they should know what the cause was. As a servant from the prince's mansion, although his master was also a prince, he didn't have the slightest bit of power, nor was he favored by the emperor. His little master was forcibly dragged away by the prince's heir, and together they made a big mistake and offended Great Elder Princess. It was reasonable to say that they should be on the side of the Gong Prince's heir. After all, the Gong Prince had power in his hands, and might be able to ascend to the throne. However, there were too many people who saw it. It should be known that in addition to those who were involved, there were more bystanders. They were the children of other families, and even some adults and servants. It was also easy for Great Elder Princess to punish a servant from another family. Therefore, it was impossible to completely side with the Gong Prince's heir, and half side would offend both sides. It was better to put all the blame on the Gong Prince's heir, and get his little master out of trouble. Therefore, these people who could serve their little master closely were not idiots. Their minds turned at lightning speed, and they had already made a decision. Therefore, they all talked at once about the matter. Regarding the details, you add a few sentences, I add a few sentences. In any case, the one who made the biggest mistake was the Gongqin prince's heir apparent, followed by Prince Kang's second son, and the rest were not wrong. The princess consort was trembling with anger and fell into a situation of isolation and helplessness. However, no one sympathized with her. Even the servants who served the princely heir of the prince of the Gong mansion were trembling at this time and almost couldn't stand, because they were very clear about what they would face. Gong Jiu rushed over and checked a group of little children. They were all small bruises and would be fine after applying some medicine. Jingwan nodded. Bai Xiao, take them to freshen up, apply some medicine, and change their clothes. Qing Zhu, find out which family these children are from, inform their elders one by one and explain the matter clearly. The two nodded and acted separately. The concubine of Prince Kong also dragged the second son of the Gong mansion and took him to freshen up in person. It was obvious that great elder princess was angry. If they stayed now, they had to resolve her resentment and might add fuel to the fire. They'd better leave quickly and talk about it later. But Yu Yao stood still and refused to let go of the tiger cub that Gong Jiu confirmed to be dead. Great elder princess finally stepped forward. Yu Yao. Yu Yao looked up and tears fell down. Mother, the tiger cub is dead. It's dead. Cousin-in-law promised to give it to me as long as you agreed. I promised to take good care of it, but now it's dead. It's dead. Mother. Great elder princess had never seen Yu Yao so sad, so she was naturally distressed and hurriedly wiped her tears. Don't cry, Yu Yao. I'll ask your uncle to uphold justice for you. Yu Yao had more than one uncle, but everyone knew who great elder princess was talking about. Princess Gong, who also felt distressed for her son and spoke ill of the person who wanted to take her son to freshen up, heard her words, but the resentment in her heart turned into fear. Needless to say, she knew the result of this matter in front of her father. Even if her son was bitten and bled and was seriously injured, the final result could not be changed. She had planned to leave with her son, but at this moment, she had to suppress such an idea. The current plan was to find a way to appease great elder princess, as long as it was not in front of her father. Aunt, I was wrong just now. I was also angry. As she said, she pulled her son over and slapped him on the back of his head. You bastard, who allowed you to rob your aunt's things? It's just a beast. If you want it, why can't your father and I give it to you? Hurry up and apologize to your aunt. She said that she was apologizing, but the meaning of her words was more and more infuriating. Jingwan really wondered if there was something wrong with her IQ, or if she was just pointing at the mulberry tree and scolding the locust tree. Moreover, did she even realize what her son had done wrong? Crown Prince Gong was younger than Yu Yao, and he was raised by Princess Gong to be a real bully. He was instilled with the idea that he was the imperial grandson, so he could have anything he wanted. Now he was like this, but his mother not only didn't help him vent his anger, but also asked him to apologize. He couldn't calm down, so he straightened his neck and said, "Why should I apologize? I've always been a beast, so what if I snatch something? She's an elder. Shouldn't she give it to me?" Princess Gong was really angry with her son at this moment. Of course, in her opinion, she didn't think her son was wrong. You bastard, apologize when I ask you. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Crown Prince Gong's eyes were red. Mother, you help an outsider instead of me. I hate you. After that, he ran away. Princess Gong scolded bastard, but in the face of great elder princess's cold and sarcastic expression, she unconsciously lowered her head. Aunt, I don't deserve it. Aunt, don't be angry. I'll apologize to cousin on behalf of that evil creature, don't you think so? Yu Yao, your nephew is still young and doesn't know anything. Can you forgive him this time? If you like little tigers, I'll ask your fourth cousin to find you 8 or 10. You can play with them however you want. What do you think? After hearing her words, Yu Yao smiled sarcastically, like great elder princess. Fourth cousin-in-law, do you think I'm a fool? Forgive him. Okay, I don't want anything else. Leave those 8 or 10 for your son to play with. I just want this one. If you let it live, I won't care about it. Princess Gong was choked by a little girl and couldn't say anything. Yu Yao snorted and then looked at Great Elder Princess and Jing Wan. Mother, cousin-in-law, I'm going to freshen up. Then she left silently with the body of the little tiger. The servants hurriedly followed, and the maid of Jin Qin Wong Mansion hurriedly led the way. Foster mother, I'm also responsible for this. Okay, it's none of your business. Don't take everything on yourself. Even if you can't be as shameless as some people who can't wait to push all the mistakes to others or find excuses to cover up, at least don't foolishly take the responsibility that you shouldn't take. Great Elder Princess coldly reprimanded Jing Wan. Foster mother, you're right. I'll remember it. Jing Wan listened obediently. Okay, go do your business. Jing Wan and Great Elder Princess left one after the other, leaving Princess Gong standing there alone. In the eyes of the children, the people who saw this good show were still pure and innocent. Only those few who were worried about the children or came to slack off couldn't help but whisper to each other in twos and threes, using their handkerchiefs to cover their mouths, as if they were deliberately trying to hide something. Being laughed at by such a group of sluts, the Gong Qin Wang Fei only wanted to tear them apart, but in the end, she could only endure, acting as if she didn't know anything, in order to protect her dignity. If what Great Elder Princess said today was spread out, her reputation would really be tarnished. Compared with this, how could she explain it to her husband and father? Her son and grandson were not good. It must be because she, as a mother, didn't teach them well. No matter how many servants she used to pay for the crime, she couldn't shirk the responsibility. As expected, the bitch Luo was born to be her nemesis. Every time something happened, it was related to her. Princess Gong really hated her in her heart, but she was deeply powerless because she couldn't take revenge at all. Because of Jingwan's incitement, the child's elders quickly knew about this matter. Previously, when they didn't know the specific situation, the child talked about it after Jingwan and the others left, but they didn't expect that their family was also involved. It was simply a ruthless slap to the face. They really hated Gong Qin Wang Fei to death. How did she teach her son? Not only did she herself make a stupid mistake, she also implicated their family's child. Fortunately, their family's darling was fine. She didn't look at the situation she was in now. She didn't know when to advance or retreat. Just wait and see, sooner or later she would fall hard and never be able to climb back up. As for the children of the Luo family, the adults led by old Madame Luo didn't say anything. In fact, not saying anything was already equivalent to thinking that they didn't do anything wrong. They, who were originally a little nervous, looked at each other, understood tacitly, and tiptoed back to play. When it's time to make a move, you can make a move, but you must learn to protect yourself. Don't be reckless. The sneaky children stared blankly for a moment, then reacted. Understood, grandmother. They responded loudly. It must be said that this matter wasn't small, and soon everyone in the front yard knew about it. Li Hongyuan's gaze lightly fell on the Gong Prince. The Gong Prince couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Sixth brother, this is your fault. Since you brought it back, there must be more than one. Why don't you release them all? Everyone has one, so there's no need to snatch one. Was this the preemptive strike? https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/10374442. HTML chapter error. Click here to report, registration free. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicken.com. Bicken.com mobile version reading website. Bicken.com. Chapter 463. What you mean is, the younger generation snatches the elders' things, the boy snatches the girls' things. If you can't get it, destroy it. These are all correct, right? This is called teaching by example. Could it be that fourth imperial brother is such a person? Li Hongyuan propped up his chin. This is interesting. Imperial Father advocates benevolence, but Fourth Imperial Brother's ideas are completely different from Imperial Father's. I wonder if Imperial Father would be angry if he knew? Li Hongyuan's mouth, there weren't many people present who hadn't experienced it before, he didn't say much, but it was too poisonous, the kind that could take someone's life. Just like now, if it reached Lu Chengdi's ears, the Gong Prince would most likely eat his head. The Gong Prince suppressed his anger, because he had learned too many lessons. If he really lost his mind in anger, the end would only be worse, so he repeatedly reminded himself to calm down, calm down, calm down. Sixth Imperial Brother, as the saying goes, things can be eaten indiscriminately, these words can't be spoken carelessly. In the end, I'm still your elder brother, slandering me like this, I'm afraid it's not appropriate. Fourth Imperial Brother's words are wrong, this prince has never eaten indiscriminately, after all, since childhood, this prince has always been picky, this is not good, this is not good, this is not good, this has always been said carelessly, right and wrong are reversed, black and white are more interesting, so, Fourth Imperial Brother, there are some words you can't say carelessly, especially in front of this prince. The Gong Prince pulled the corner of his mouth. Now he was a bit regretful. Originally, the matter his son caused had nothing to do with Jin Qin Wang Fu, but when he thought about the possibility of facing Imperial Father's punishment, he subconsciously wanted to escape the crime. It had become a habit, he didn't even think about it before blurting it out. Provoking Li Hongyuan, there was no possibility of escaping the crime, but one more crime was 9 out of 10 times. The Gong Prince even wanted to slap himself twice. Yu Yao is our younger cousin. She has quite a few nephews and nieces. So many people didn't fight with her. Only your son didn't show any respect to his elders. Fourth Imperial Brother also has the nerve to push the blame onto this prince. However, since Fourth Imperial Brother said so, there is one thing you should know, this prince's things, this prince can give them to whoever he wants, if he wants to take them out, without this prince's permission, don't try. Even so, this prince wants to see who dares to criticize this prince. Sixth brother, if you ask me, maybe it's because you have too many good things in your residence, and fourth brother is envious. Since he can share cats and dogs, maybe he expects you to share other things as well. When it came to matters related to Li Hongyuan, the others had already learned to be smart. Even if the person he dissed was actually their sworn enemy, it was best not to get involved easily. This was because they might not be able to trick their sworn enemy, and they might even bury themselves. Therefore, when it came to this kind of matter, everyone had a tacit understanding to just watch. Now that someone actually interfered, they couldn't help but look over at the same time. 11 was really a newborn calf that was not afraid of tigers. The 11th prince was 15, and wouldn't leave the palace until next year. There was a big age gap between him and Li Hongyuan. Although he knew of Li Hongyuan's fame, in fact, Li Hongyuan had never done anything to these younger brothers. No matter how you looked at it, these younger brothers were the same person, his father's sons, nothing more. Li Hongyuan glanced at him, and when the others thought he was going to flip out, he just calmly withdrew his gaze. This was not what he had expected. The Gong Prince had hoped that the other side would share the firepower, but this time, Li Hongyuan didn't play his cards as expected. He couldn't do anything to Li Hongyuan, but he couldn't do anything to him? The Gong Prince's eyes flew over like daggers. 11, if you don't have your sixth brother's life, don't learn from him so easily, it's not good. The 11th prince was threatened, but he just shrugged his shoulders indifferently. This younger brother has always been self-aware, I'm not learning from sixth brother, I'm just saying what I think. If fourth brother thinks there's no such thing, then just don't admit it, it's simple, why should I care? Thinking too much and worrying too much, it's easy to shorten one's lifespan. How to put it, they seem to have a whole new level of respect for this younger brother. Today, he must have eaten the wrong medicine, daring to diss his own powerful older brother. People like him were the ones who truly had no power, no influence, and no favor, a little transparent. These adult princes simply didn't bother to pay attention to him, and even if he was an adult, they still had to see what his wife's family was like before they decided what to do next. Now, this little transparent didn't want to be a little transparent anymore. Jumping out to make his presence known before? Wasn't he afraid of breaking himself? After all, he was a prince. Compared to many people, even if he was inferior, he was still somewhat inferior. As long as he knew his place, just like the sickly fifth prince, in the future, whichever brother ascended the throne, for the sake of reputation, he could continue to live a comfortable life, just like the current Gong prince. The 11th prince was just a pervert. A few years ago, he had already started eating meat. This originally wasn't a big deal, but now he recklessly jumped out. He was afraid that in the future, he wouldn't have the chance to continue hugging a beauty. No matter what the reason was, in short, Li Hongyuan wasn't interested. Of course, if one day this younger brother suddenly rose up and reluctantly became an opponent, Li Hongyuan would probably give him a look. However, even if he rose up now, he was afraid that there was no time. The current chaotic situation was bound to end within 2 years. This prince is in a good mood today. I don't want to care about any trivial matters. Don't come looking for this prince. When everyone heard this, they immediately understood that Li Hongyuan was no longer pursuing the matter. Some people were regretful, but only the Gong prince rejoiced. It's just that, with a fixed mindset, he believed that Li Hongyuan only liked to deal with things now, and didn't like to settle things after the autumn. Therefore, many times he was tricked. No matter what kind of person he was, he would often choose the wrong target. Those who truly understood Li Hongyuan knew that his heart was smaller than the tip of a needle, and secretly plotting against people was his specialty. Therefore, the Gong prince really rejoiced too early. Think about it, if your son killed the birthday present he sent people to find for his wife, regardless of whether his wife had already given the present away or not, would you be able to easily get away without paying any price? Hee, you're really dreaming. The reason why he didn't deal with it now was still that sentence, because of Jingwan. Because of Jingwan's birthday, he wanted to make it perfect. If in the end it was ruined because of him, even if Jingwan didn't say anything, he himself would be depressed. After that, in order to not provoke the king of hell, everyone was quite well behaved, and the atmosphere was quite harmonious. The Gong prince sat for a moment, thinking about his Wang Fei's temperament. In the end, he couldn't sit still. He didn't want to make another stupid mistake because of Qin Shi, and be blamed by Li Hongyuan on him. Husband and wife as one? What did the wife do wrong that it was the husband's fault? That was all nonsense. The Gong prince only knew that, when disaster strikes, everyone flies away. Although it wasn't to this extent now, but if something really happened, he didn't mind pushing his wife out. After searching, he found that his Wang Fei really had left the Jin Prince mansion. The Gong prince's teeth itched with hatred, this slut who can't do anything right. If it was in the past, the Gong prince was holding the Gong prince in his hand afraid to fall, holding the Gong prince in his mouth afraid to melt. The Gong Qin Wang Fei was insolent both inside and outside the mansion. She punished the Gong prince's concubine, but the Gong prince had to coax her with kind words. That was because his father-in-law held military power. If he wanted to rise to the throne, he absolutely couldn't do without his father-in-law's support. It was just that he lowered himself and tried to curry favor everywhere. However, this father and daughter pair really dared to ride on his head, bossing him around. Because of a small matter, Qin Tianming was cold to him. He was doomed to fail, so why should he lower himself? The Gong prince lost his patience with Qin Shi, so Qin Shi naturally suffered. However, Qin Tianming was still standing there, and he hadn't completely fallen out with the Gong prince. Even if the Gong prince didn't give Qin Shi face, he still had some misgivings. The Gong prince rushed back to the Gong prince mansion, but there was no one there. The Gong prince thought for a moment, then turned around and went to the Champion Marquis mansion. Coincidentally, because Qin Tianming's wife had some typhoid and wasn't feeling well, she didn't go to the Jin Prince mansion today to avoid bad luck. As a result, her grandson, who was supposed to be at the Jin Prince mansion, came back with her daughter. Her grandson was in a sorry state, covered with injuries and crying. Madame Qin still loved her grandson very much, so she hurriedly asked what was going on. The Gong Qin Wang Fei came in and comforted her son with kind words, promising many benefits, before letting a maid take him to freshen up. When her daughter was talking, Madame Qin chose to stand on the sidelines. Madame Qin didn't agree with the way her daughter raised the child, but her daughter didn't take it seriously at all, saying something like, she only had this one son, and her son was the emperor's grandson, the heir of the Gong Prince mansion. In the future, he might be. She didn't care what he did. Listen to what she was saying, it really made her liver hurt. She really thought she was the emperor, but one day she kicked an iron plate, then she would know how powerful she was. Over time, it was hard for her to control her. Now she heard that she had provoked great elder princess, but she still dared to say to her son that it was his fault. If she was really so capable, she shouldn't have come to the Marquis of Champion's mansion in a fit of anger. Madame Qin really wanted to slap her to death and tell her to get as far away as possible, so as not to implicate the Marquis of Champion's mansion. Of course, Madame Qin didn't care about the Marquis of Champion's mansion, but her branch. Anyway, although her branch lived in the Marquis of Champion's mansion, her husband and father-in-law didn't get along well. When the heir of the Gong Prince was taken away, the Gong Qin Wang Fei began to vent to her mother in all kinds of ways, blaming great elder princess and Jin Wang Fei. In short, except for her, everyone else was wrong. As long as they didn't obey her, they were wrong. Although it was not organized, Madame Qin roughly understood the cause and effect. She was so angry that the blue veins on her forehead stood out. Shut up. Why did she give birth to such a thing, huh? She didn't have a filter and dared to say anything. If you have the ability, you can say these words in front of the emperor. Father will definitely be unreasonable and help them. Madame Qin was so angry that she slapped her in the face. Who gave you the courage, even daring to talk about the emperor? She was stunned by her mother's slap, but when she heard her mother's words, she dared to be angry but didn't dare to say anything. There's only the two of us here, other people can't hear. Moreover, mother, I'm the Gong Qin Wang Fei, how can you hit me? This is offending your superiors. Madame Qin covered her chest and almost vomited blood. Okay, you're noble now, I, as your mother, can't even touch a finger of yours. The Marquis of Champion's mansion is small, it can't accommodate a big Buddha like you. Asking the Gong Qin Wang Fei to take the heir and leave immediately, and don't come back in the future. The Gong Qin Wang Fei also realized that she said something wrong and didn't say anything. After a moment, she said, Mother, don't be angry, I also didn't choose my words carefully. Besides, if I go out with a slap on my face, how can I meet people? You've already lost all your face, what face do you still have to meet people? The Gong Qin Wang Fei lifted the curtain and strode in. Wang Ye. In front of the Gong Qin Wang Fei, the Gong Qin Wang Fei had long been unable to be arrogant. She subconsciously knew that she had done something wrong today, so she took 2 steps back in fear. Why are you here? Madame Qin wasn't surprised at all. Greetings to Wang Ye. Mother-in-law, please dispense with the formalities. The Gong Qin Wang Fei gestured with his hand. Wang Ye is here to pick up the Wang Fei and heir? If she dared to say no, then she didn't need to think about the emperor's throne. She should be more straightforward, hand over the task at hand, and go home to take care of the child. Yes, 6th sister-in-law's first birthday after marrying into the imperial family, it's not good to be absent. That bastard boy knew that you weren't feeling well, so he came to see you. He was originally filial, if he was criticized, then it wouldn't be good, don't you think so? Lying with a straight face, this was the Gong Qin Wang Fei's style. However, many people had this skill, so it didn't matter. He didn't see Madame Qin's expression change, she even nodded as if it was a matter of course. That's right, Wang Ye should take the Wang Fei and heir and hurry over. The Gong Qin Wang Fei nodded. That bastard boy, where did he go? Logically speaking, it was just washing up and changing clothes, it wasn't a bath, how long could it take? The Gong Qin Wang Fei turned and went out, personally looking for him. Wang Ye. The Gong Qin Wang Fei hurriedly followed him out, afraid that the Gong Qin Wang Fei would hit her son in a fit of anger. The Gong Qin Wang Fei was really playing with the 2 children. What happened in Jin Wangfu seemed to have been forgotten beyond the highest heavens. He didn't see his father, but a certain child at that moment, his face turned white with fright. The Gong Qin Wang Fei also turned his head. He dared to make a scene in front of his mother, but was very afraid of his father. The lawless little overlord, at this moment, shrank back like a quail. "Fu, Father King." The Gong Qin Wang Fei expressionlessly looked at him for a moment, then his cold eyes fell on the Gong Qin Wang Fei. He coldly snorted, flicked his sleeves and left. The Gong Qin Wang Fei hurriedly pulled her son and followed. Although she was unwilling, she didn't dare to say anything. "Mu Fei, where are we going?" The Gong Qin Wang Fei pulled his mother's sleeve. "Jin Wang Fu. I'm not going." He immediately exploded, unwilling to leave. The Gong Qin Wang Fei hurriedly covered his mouth. "You dead child, what are you talking about?" Unfortunately, it was already too late. The Gong Qin Wang Fei had already heard and turned around, because they were already out of the champion Marquis Fu's gate. His mood was no longer restrained, his face gloomy as if he wanted to eat people. The Gong Qin Wang Fei was so scared that he hid behind his mother. The Gong Qin Wang Fei protected her son. Just as she was about to say something, the Gong Qin Wang Fei vigorously pushed her away, grabbing her son's shoulder. "Not going? Okay, Ben Wang can send someone to send you back, but, from now on, you're not allowed to take half a step out of the Gong Qin Wang Fu. Ben Wang will also write a memorial to your imperial grandfather, using your illness as an excuse to revoke your Wang Fei status. What do you think? Now tell Ben Wang, are you going or not?" Even if he was still young, he clearly knew what the Wang Fei status meant to him, but right now his father was too terrifying. He was scared silly, unable to make any response. The Gong Qin Wang Fei wasn't the only one who was scared. The Gong Qin Wang Fei was the same. She couldn't care less. She rushed over and grabbed the Gong Qin Wang Fei's arm. "Wang, how can you do that? You can't do that." The Gong Qin Wang Fei shook her off, backhanded her. The Gong Qin Wang Fei retreated a step, then fell directly to the ground, looking at the Gong Qin Wang Fei in disbelief. Although it wasn't the first time he hit her, but right now they were at the gate of the champion Marquis Fu, this slap wasn't just hitting her face, it was also hitting her father's face. How could he dare? The Gong Qin Wang Fei was condescending. "Can't? Why can't I? If Ben Wang really did that, then it's all thanks to you, a good son. Look at what you've taught him." Hitting his elders, bullying a girl. Is this what you taught him? If you can't get it, you'll destroy it. Is this your idea? How much ability do you have? How much face do you have? Because of you, because of this evil creature, Ben Wang lost face in front of all the brothers and officials. And you offended the great elder princess. Not only did you not want to apologize, you even dared to bring this disgraceful thing back to your mother's house. What, you did something wrong, and you still feel wronged? The Gong Qin Wang Fei's lips trembled, but she couldn't say anything. If she dared to defend herself, she was afraid she wouldn't have a good ending. The Gong Qin Wang Fei's gaze fell on his son. "You remember, if your position as Wang Fei is really gone, then everything will be your Wang Fei's fault. After today's banquet, I'll give you two choices. Move to the front yard, study hard with your teacher. Without Ben Wang's permission, you're not allowed to see your Wang Fei, or you can follow your Wang Fei for the rest of your life." After the Gong Qin Wang Fei finished speaking, he looked meaningfully at the gate of the champion Marquis residence. Humph! With a flick of his sleeve, he turned and got into the carriage. The Gong Qin Wang Fei was in a daze. There was a palm print on both sides of her face, but the Gong Qin Wang Fei's hand was much heavier than Madame Qin's, so there was no symmetry. She didn't understand why it was like this. Why was it all her fault in the end? The Gong Qin Wang Fei's gaze inadvertently fell on her son, but what she saw was the alienation, vigilance, and even a faint hatred in her son's eyes. She did everything for her son, but her son was so easily instigated. For his own benefit, he didn't hesitate to abandon her, his own mother. He was just a little white-eyed wolf. The Gong Qin Wang Fei stretched out her hand, as if she was making a final attempt to persuade him to stay. However, her good son's mouth twitched, and he ran towards his Wang Fei's carriage with a thump thump thump. Her heart turned cold, but it only lasted for a moment. The Gong Qin Wang Fei looked at his careful son in front of him, and then looked at Qin Shi through the window, his eyes cold. "Still not leaving? Are you waiting for Ben Wang to invite you?" The Gong Qin Wang Fei slowly got up. The maid serving her wanted to help her, but she shook her off. Madame Qin heard from the maid what happened outside the gate, closed her eyes, took off the prayer beads on her wrist, and quickly turned them. She was very clear. The Gong Qin Wang Fei was just acting for her husband to see. Because of her husband's indifference to him, he was telling them that he had lost his patience. Madame Qin thought of her own daughter. In the end, she was her own flesh. How could she not feel distressed? Speaking of which, her original temperament was not bad, and she could be considered smart, but in the past few years, she had been spoiled by the Gong Qin Wang Fei, and she really thought that the Gong Qin Wang Fei was doing it for her, so she forgot herself, lost her original heart, and became more and more unsightly. The Gong Qin Wang Fei was in the carriage, and the maid helped her put on makeup to cover the red marks on her face, but no matter how much the foundation covered it, it couldn't cover the swelling. Returning to Jin Qin Wang Mansion, the Gong Qin Wang Fei took his wife and children to apologize to Great Elder Princess, looking very sincere. He had no choice. Compared with Madame Qin, he knew this aunt better, and it was better not to play tricks in front of her. If he annoyed her again and again, he would definitely suffer. As for the Gong Qin Wang Fei, no one knew what his father said to him, but when he apologized to Yu Yao, he looked very sincere, completely different from his previous arrogant appearance. Many people were surprised. They didn't know that the Gong Qin Wang Fei taught his son so well, but whether it was true praise or mockery, only they knew in their hearts. In the end, Great Elder Princess didn't insist. After all, according to some people's meaning, if she didn't forgive them, they would be prepared to sincerely apologize, and when the time came, it would be her fault. Great Elder Princess sneered in her heart. If she wanted to punish someone, did she have to go through her brother? She had been living behind closed doors. Did she really have no connections at all? Well, do what you need to do. As a man, how can you hide among women? Yes, Aunt, you're right. I'll take my leave. Since he had achieved his goal, the Gong Qin Wang Fei left quickly. The Gong Qin Wang Fei, who stayed, became the object of everyone's discussion. However, the Gong Qin Wang Fei was like a piece of wood at this moment. In the eyes of Great Elder Princess, she despised people like the Gong Qin Wang Fei, who acted as if the sky was falling and the earth was collapsing, and she was even more disgusted by her than her previous arrogance. In contrast, the concubine of Prince Kong was more pleasing to her eyes. Although Prince Kang's second son was an accomplice, Great Elder Princess didn't blame the concubine. After all, she was not the legal mother, and the child was not born by her, so it was indeed not her place to take care of him. Moreover, it was rare that she was a smart person who saw through things thoroughly. As time went by, more and more officials arrived, and then a group of people were frightened by the living king of hell. When it was almost time, the banquet began. In fact, most people were satisfied with this banquet. Even the reserved female guests basically didn't eat any dishes that hadn't been touched. It couldn't be helped that the dishes were really good in color, smell, and taste. The smell uncontrollably went into people's noses and aroused their appetite. No matter how reserved they were, they still ate several times. They sighed in their hearts that this was what a banquet should be like. However, the chef of Prince Jin's mansion was really good. The ingredients used in each dish were the best. Although they belonged to the top circle of the whole Qi Yuan, they hadn't eaten some of the dishes on the table. Of course, they were embarrassed to say that because it was shameful. Of course, there were still some people who didn't eat much, including Jingwan. Because the bowl of longevity noodles before the banquet was so delicious that Jingwan was 80% full at that time. Later, many people proposed a toast to her. Jingwan didn't drink much, so her alcohol tolerance was naturally low. Halfway through the banquet, she was basically drunk. Most of the older noblewomen were more considerate and let her rest. Of course, not everyone had good intentions. The younger ones raised their wine cups and laughed like flowers trembling. How could the birthday girl leave halfway? How was it unkind to pretend to be drunk? The older ones nodded their heads in agreement. It must be said that these people didn't bully Jingwan because she was young and thin-skinned, so most of them would endure. Unfortunately, Prince Jin's appearance at the female guests' table really surprised many people. However, Li Hongyuan didn't look sideways. He ignored people who paid their respects and directly walked to Jingwan's side. He reached out and stroked her hair. Drunk? Whether it was his actions or his expression, they all hid a tenderness that couldn't be dissolved. Wang Ye. Jingwan got up but couldn't stand. Li Hongyuan hurriedly reached out to help her. "I'll take you to rest." Without any explanation, he carried Jingwan up horizontally. With a little force, he suppressed Jingwan's struggle and stopped at Luo Lao Furin's table. "After that, I'll have to trouble Lao Furin to help take care of everyone. When Jingwan wakes up, she will apologize to everyone." Who was the living king of hell? Let his king of hell's consort come out to apologize? Looking at how precious she was now, if she really chirped in the future and expressed her dissatisfaction with Jin Wangfei, he would be displeased. If he was displeased, the womenfolk present might not do anything, but their fathers, husbands, or sons might be in trouble. So, these words, it was fine to just listen to it. Each and every one of them hurriedly said that they didn't dare and let him quickly send Jingwan to rest. Because of this, until the end of the banquet, there were still some unmarried young ladies and even young married women who were absent-minded. The notoriety of the living king of hell was well known to men, women, old, and young in the entire capital. However, those who had truly eaten his methods were actually only a small portion of people. It was basically concentrated on those brothers of his and those courtiers who always wanted to make things difficult for him. The other people, especially the womenfolk of the noble houses, only knew about him through rumors. As the saying goes, public opinion can melt gold and accumulation can destroy the bones. After the exaggerated and erroneous rumors, coupled with Li Hongyuan's intentional actions, it was basically people who heard about the living king of hell. Even if on some occasions, if they accidentally met him, they would avoid him from afar. Or if they fancied his appearance, they would also be dissuaded by others and then rationally choose to give up. However, seeing the scene of Jin Qin Wangfei treating Jin Qin Wangfei, how could they remain indifferent? Especially those who had actually thought about Jin Qin Wangfei and were now married but didn't live as they wished. It turned out that Jin Qin Wang was actually so gentle and considerate. It turned out that Jin Qin Wang wasn't scary at all. It turned out that even if Jin Qin Wang didn't treat other people well, he treated his own Wangfei completely differently. Why couldn't they become his Wangfei? It must be known that Jin Qin Wang had started to choose his concubines many years ago. If they didn't listen to those rumors, how could they miss such a man? If they didn't listen to those rumors, how could Jin Qin Wang be taken away by a woman outside the capital? They didn't think that Jin Qin Wang was acting because Jin Qin Wang didn't need to act for anyone to see. Even if he was acting, no man would do it to this extent. Their intestines turned green and coupled with jealousy corroding their hearts, how many people unconsciously tore their handkerchiefs? In contrast, some unmarried young ladies were eager to move. Jin Qin Wang didn't even have a single tsefei, let alone a concubine. They didn't need to worry about Jin Qin Wang's cruelty and might even be able to obtain his favor. Coupled with the monstrous riches and honor of Jin Qin Wang Fu, what could compare to this taste? Even if Jin Qin Wang Fei was a jealous woman, as long as Jin Qin Wang protected her, what else was there to worry about? A group of old noble women could see it clearly. Some were disdainful, some were indifferent, and some lamented, "Evil creatures, our evil creatures," each and every one of them was bewitched. If they continued to indulge like this, no matter if they were married or not, they wouldn't have a good life. Married, if they always fantasized about Jin Qin Wang's gentleness and ignored everything else, or if their husband knew about it, would they want to enter the family temple, or would they want to be divorced? Unmarried, if they always wanted to choose a husband based on Jin Qin Wang, would they still want to marry? Each and every one of their hearts are higher than the sky, but I'm afraid that their lives are thinner than paper. Who was Great Elder Princess? Her words were not polite at all. Who do you think you are? Do you really think that you can be a Qin Wang Fei with any identity? Even if Jin Qin Wang is a jinx to his wife, it's not because he lowered his status and married any woman. As the saying goes, different people have different lives. Even if you marry into Jin Qin Wang Mansion, you may not have the luck of being a Qin Wang Fei. Instead of living a good life, you think about those things all day long. You deserve it if you don't live a good life. The surrounding noblewomen didn't answer. They were all used to leaving some leeway in everything, so they wouldn't say anything to offend Great Elder Princess. However, they all knew that Great Elder Princess was right. They were all experienced people and had seen everything. It should be known that although Luo Peishan was a first-class official, Jingwan was not the legitimate daughter of the eldest son's family. Besides, her father was completely incompetent, so she couldn't be a Qin Wang Fei. It was better to recognize Great Elder Princess as her adoptive mother to raise her status. Even if Lu Chengdi was crazy about his 6 sons' marriage, he would not lower his standards too much. Besides, even if Great Elder Princess wanted to adopt a daughter, she wouldn't do it casually. Even if it was Lu Chengdi's idea, it had to depend on Great Elder Princess's own wishes. Even if her status was high enough, as the saying went, different people have different lives. What was more, the King of Hell only chose that one person, and no one else could be chosen. Therefore, those who even blamed Jingwan were really unreasonable. Great Elder Princess, you don't have to care about this. In addition to luck and good or bad life, people still have to rely on themselves. Madame Luo said with a smile. Great Elder Princess nodded and said, "You're right, madam. However, that evil creature is also a source of trouble. Even if he loves his wife dearly, he can send his people here and then ask the maids to send her back. Why does he have to go there by himself? It's normal for young people to be impulsive occasionally and forget other things when they're in love. Everyone has been like this, so there's no need to worry too much about it," an old princess said with a smile. "Aunt, you're right." Great Elder Princess nodded. Mammy Gong stepped forward at the right time and said, "Madam, the theater is ready. Do you want to go there now?" Since Prince Jean had entrusted Madame Luo, he naturally asked for her opinion at this time. Madame Luo asked for the opinions of others, so they all moved to the seats. The opera troupe of Prince Jin's mansion was raised by himself, so it was naturally different from the ones outside. Instead of watching the play together, the male and female seats were directly divided into 2 parts. The men watched the male opera troupe, and the women watched the female opera troupe. For many people, it was the first time for them to watch a play in such a way, which was quite novel. After all, it was common for male singers to sing Hua Dan, but it was more difficult for female singers to sing Wu Sheng. It didn't matter to the female guests, but in the male guest seats, some people were eager to watch a pure female performance. Li Hongyuan was also generous. Okay, they could exchange the second half of the performance. However, those who had evil thoughts were destined to fail. After all, Jingwan had already sent away the performers who were willing to leave. As for the rest, as long as they didn't have any evil thoughts, Jingwan would naturally protect them. For such a trivial matter, the King of Hell had always been obedient to his wife. Asking the King of Hell to take a woman from him, haha. In the 2 neighboring courtyards, there were endless sounds of babbling, and from time to time, there were cheers and applause. However, in the female guest seats, there were always girls who couldn't sit still. For various reasons, they wanted to go out for a walk and exercise, and the place to exercise was the courtyard of the male guest seats. What are they doing? Their thoughts are clearly written on their faces. Shameless. Yuan Qiao sat beside Sun Yijia and said indignantly, "Why do you care about them? Anyway, at most, they are just thinking about it. Can a toad eat swan meat?" Sun Yijia didn't take it seriously, but the words that came out of her mouth were also poisonous. Although she didn't like Li Hongyuan, it didn't mean that she was willing to let other women covet her sister-in-law's husband. Yuan Qiao burst into laughter. In fact, the Luo family's thoughts were similar to theirs. They didn't have a grudge against her grand-aunt, so they naturally wanted her to be well. In the end, it was Great Elder Princess who didn't like her and wanted to steal her goddaughter's husband? We're family. Watch out for yourselves. Don't do anything shameful. As an elder, it was shameful to have such a girl in the family. However, the girls basically gathered together at a certain distance, so it was difficult to control them. What was more, they were afraid that they would make a big noise, which would be even more embarrassing. Now that Great Elder Princess had exposed them, they really wanted to bring back their evil girl and strangle her to death. Fortunately, only a few of them really did so, and most of them were still rational. Great Elder Princess, His Highness has been in the main courtyard for an hour. Nanny Gong, who was guarding by the side, said softly. Well, the prince had long been gone. Those who tried to meet him by chance were in vain. Jingwan was sent back to the main courtyard by Li Hongyuan. At that time, she vomited so much that a lot of filth was vomited on Li Hongyuan. Li Hongyuan frowned. Compared with the discomfort caused by the filth, he cared more about Jingwan. He quickly cleaned up and took care of Jingwan in person until she drank the hangover soup and fell asleep. At this moment, Jingwan was almost asleep and sober. Li Hongyuan happened to go to see her, so she hugged Li Hongyuan tightly and didn't want to let go. Jingwan couldn't be blamed for being so clingy. Although she was drunk, she didn't drink too much. She could still remember everything. Li Hongyuan had gone to this extent for her, so how could she not be happy? Not to mention the era of male chauvinism, even in her previous life, there weren't many men who could go to this extent. Even if her heart was as firm as a rock, it was difficult for her not to love him. Li Hongyuan also held her in his arms and gently rubbed her temples. Still uncomfortable? Jingwan shook her head. Yuan is here. I don't feel uncomfortable. She was now as if she had been filled with honey. Li Hongyuan gently knocked on her forehead. It's useless to say nice things. You're still a stupid person. If you can't drink, then don't drink. Drinking is already giving face. Do those people dare to have any objections? Only you are so stupid to drink it. Most of them are elders. Jingwan was scolded, but she wasn't angry. So what if they are elders? Jingwan was helpless. You can ignore them, but I can't. When the time comes, the gossip will not only target me. Li Hongyuan kissed her forehead. It's been hard on you. One day, anyone in front of you can only do things according to your mood. It's natural not to do things that you don't want to do. Giving them a smile is a gift. Jingwan smiled. Why did this domineering style feel a little Chinibu? What was there to feel wronged about? I know. I'll wait. It was a little perfunctory. When that day really came, Jingwan wouldn't be like this. It wasn't that she couldn't, but it was just the most ordinary of getting along well. There was no need for so many twists and turns. I've rested enough. Let's go to the theater. There are only 2 of us in the prince's mansion. We can't be absent all the time. It doesn't matter. Jingwan was helpless again. Here it comes again. Let's go, let's go. I want to watch the show. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/10541560. HTML. Please click here to report. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicken.com. Bicken.com mobile version reading website. Bicken.com. Chapter 464. Li Hongyuan glanced at her and didn't say anything. Jingwan got up and let the maidservant dress her. Now this person was going to replace Qing Zhu and the others. She was 15 years old, but her skills in dressing and doing makeup were quite good. However, at this age, she could stay by her side for at most 3 years before she got married. If she hadn't prepared these people before she got married and didn't enter the prince's mansion to further train them until she returned from Jiangnan, Jingwan would have suspected that this person was selected by someone who didn't want outsiders to stay by her side for too long. However, there were advantages to being a little older. If she was too young, Jingwan would feel guilty when she ordered her around. Jingwan's eyes were half closed. Her thoughts were still on Li Hongyuan. Sometimes, she even suspected that a certain someone's IQ ate up his EQ. That was why his IQ was so high and he was always online. However, his EQ was so low that he attracted hatred all over the world. However, even if he attracted hatred, it didn't affect him at all. More often than not, he had to make others retreat. In addition, he used all kinds of tricks on her. Could you say that his EQ was low? It was completely impossible. His EQ was obviously off the charts. This was a combination of the right time, place, and people. Even the emperor couldn't be as casual as him. However, Jingwan didn't think that this opportunity fell from the sky for no reason. For today, her husband had done so much behind her back. Just thinking about it made her heart ache. Jingwan wasn't a person who reminisced about the past. At this moment, she wanted to know about his past. It was a pity that she wasn't involved in that period of time. Who knew that many years before they met, she was also a part of his life, a very important part. After preparing, Li Hongyuan found that the way his wife looked at him seemed to have changed a little. It made him a little confused. It was said that a woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Looking at it now, his wife was no exception. Jingwan also didn't know Li Hongyuan's thoughts. Otherwise, she would have been angered to death. She was emotional once, and he could slap her into pieces in seconds. Was this called high EQ? It was obviously so low that it had no boundaries. Fortunately, Li Hongyuan would never say this kind of thing. Therefore, his EQ was definitely online. After preparing, Li Hongyuan held Jingwan's hand. The two walked side by side, unhurriedly in the direction of the theater. Along the way, Jingwan smiled from beginning to end. Her eyes were basically on Li Hongyuan. Li Hongyuan's expression was a little lazy. It seemed that he didn't respond to Jingwan. However, from time to time, he gently pulled or put his arm around her shoulder. Therefore, Jingwan, who didn't look at the road, walked steadily all the way. She didn't bump into anything. From here, the theater where the female guests were placed was closer. Although they weren't seated, Li Hongyuan still sent Jingwan in. He stroked her hair that wasn't messy at all and gently tidied her clothes that weren't messy at all. He whispered a few words to her. He might not have noticed it himself, but in the eyes of others, it was really gentle and affectionate. The restlessness that had been calmed down became more and more intense at this moment. Li Hongyuan lowered his head and kissed Jingwan's forehead. Jingwan hurriedly retreated and looked around like a thief. She seemed to reach out and smack him in a fit of anger. She seemed to grumble. At the same time, in the eyes of others, Fon Min was surprised and shy. She was still pretending. Everyone said that Jean Qin Wang Fei was a person who was used to pretending. It was true. She gritted her teeth and pulled at her handkerchief. She wanted to tear Jingwan apart and replace her. This kind of ugly behavior was clearly seen by those who weren't blind. As the elders, they really wanted to find a hole to crawl into. It was really too embarrassing. Of course, this was only one aspect. There were a few women who didn't even control their emotions and completely fell into the eyes of their mother-in-law. As a mother, how could she allow her son to be cuckolded by her daughter-in-law? Her eyes were like they were dipped in poison. Slut, not abiding by a woman's virtue, these kinds of words were the lightest. Also, even if they were angry, they couldn't blame it on Li Hongyuan. He didn't seduce them. He just treated his wife very normally. This was also his own territory. No one had a reason to criticize him. These people, when they went back, they didn't know how they would be dealt with. It was a pity that these young ladies and daughters-in-law didn't know anything at this time. They were completely attracted by Li Hongyuan. As for Jingwan, that was because she automatically replaced Jingwan's face with her own in her mind. Jingwan urged twice. Only then did Li Hongyuan leave. He didn't forget to remind Jingwan's servant girl. She was in a good mood. Jingwan's smile naturally couldn't fade. It was just that when she approached, she couldn't help but stop. What happened? She was just drunk for a while. What happened? Why was there such a strong resentment? Not to mention the scene of Jingwan and Li Hongyuan getting along, Jingwan's current complexion didn't show any discomfort after being drunk at all. Her white skin was tinged with red. The corners of her eyes were a foxy color, as if they had been ruthlessly moistened. How could it not make some people who couldn't get resentment to the sky? If Jingwan knew, she would definitely cry out that she was wronged. Because she knew Li Hongyuan's nature, even if Jingwan was unusually happy in her heart, she didn't dare to take the initiative to kiss him. If she kissed him, she was afraid that she really couldn't leave the room. It could only be said that the malice was too strong and the resentment was too deep. Naturally, he would imagine something unusual. Jingwan remained calm and went upstairs. The atmosphere here was normal. Well, maybe she would soon know the reason for the abnormality downstairs. Jingwan greeted everyone with a sweet smile. She apologized for leaving the banquet in advance. If she didn't treat them well, please forgive her. Obviously, this kind of thing was quite normal. Besides, there was really nothing wrong with the things prepared by Prince Jin's mansion this time. Thinking of Prince Jin's attitude towards her, he wouldn't say anything. Because of her identity, she naturally couldn't go to Sun Yijia and the others now. Therefore, it was destined that she couldn't talk to her former best friend today. Great Elder Princess waved her hand and asked Jingwan to sit beside her. Jingwan didn't refuse and sat beside Great Elder Princess peacefully. Jingwan originally thought that her foster mother would say something to her. However, Great Elder Princess just watched the play carefully and asked Jingwan to sit beside her. It seemed that she just didn't have a place for Jingwan to sit. In this case, Jingwan could only feel helpless. However, she was not very curious about what happened next. Therefore, it didn't matter whether she knew it now or not. Even if she didn't know it in the end, it could only mean that it was not important. If it was important, she would definitely know it sooner or later. Because they were domestic performers, many of the later plays were actually arranged according to Jingwan's taste. After all, it was their duty to please their masters. Therefore, Jingwan was a little more interested in the play today. She felt that it was not bad and didn't notice the reason behind it for a while. However, for people like Great Elder Princess who like to listen to plays more often, it was quite obvious. She tilted her head and asked, "Jingwan, do you often listen to plays in the mansion?" Jingwan didn't know why, but it seemed that there was no need to hide it. She nodded and said, "Not often, but I've heard it several times after I came back from the south of the Yangtze River. After all, sometimes it's quite boring and I have to find something to kill time." Great Elder Princess nodded and asked, "What about your husband? Does he often listen to plays?" At this time, Jingwan hesitated for a moment and said, "When I listen to plays, he is almost always there." Great Elder Princess looked at Jingwan meaningfully and continued to listen to the play. These plays are arranged well. In fact, Jingwan was a little confused by Great Elder Princess's look. She still didn't know what she was up to. However, she knew that as her foster mother, she didn't mean any harm. She also thought that what she did was right. "In fact, I don't know much about plays." Foster mother, if you think it's good, when you want to listen to it, you can tell me a sentence. I'll ask the troupe to sing it for you in your mansion. Okay, I'll have a chance in the future. Great Elder Princess didn't refuse. After all, she had a special relationship with Jingwan. If they were too distant, it would obviously be too much. The boundary didn't need to be clearly drawn all the time. In the second half of the play, Mu An came to Jingwan and said, "Your Highness, His Highness has promised to exchange the two troops. Now, it's almost time. Do you think?" Li Hongyuan didn't mention it to her before, but since it was her husband's decision, it wasn't a big deal, so Jingwan naturally wouldn't disobey. But who suggested it? In Jingwan's opinion, it was definitely not her husband who suggested it. It's the other princes. Jingwan understood and said, "I see. In that case, let's change it." Well, there was no need to ask for others' opinions. Anyway, these women usually watched the male troops. After all, they were not raised by their families. Every time they watched a play, there would be a lot of people. The troops were never allowed to walk around, so there were not so many taboos. In fact, there was even no physical wall between the two courtyards. The performers put on makeup and changed their costumes in the same place, but there was a partition in the middle. In this way, it was very simple to change the costumes. They didn't even need to disturb the people watching the play. In the next place, a group of performers would go on the stage. It was very simple. After the change, many people didn't even find the difference. They just thought that the performers on the stage were probably another group. Of course, the gluttons of operas could still tell at a glance. About half of the first song after the change, they suddenly found that the male guest's side seemed to be more and more enthusiastic. It was so noisy that it even affected this side. It was so quiet before and basically had nothing to do with each other. Some people felt strange. What were these men excited about? Weren't they the same? Was it possible that the two sides' operas were very different, and the male guest side was particularly wonderful? In this way, someone joked with Jingwan, "Are Prince Jean and Princess Yu favoring one and discriminating against the other?" Jingwan really didn't know how to answer this question. How should she say it? She couldn't directly say that those men were naturally excited when they saw beautiful women, right? If she said so, she would be criticized. Jingwan had scruples, but Great Elder Princess didn't have any scruples at all. It's not to the extent of favoring one and discriminating against the other. It's just that men's bad habits are triggered. It's normal for their eyes to light up when they see beautiful women. Some people still didn't understand, but after being reminded by the people around them, they understood in an instant. They all shut their mouths and didn't want to ask anything. After all, the male guests had their husbands. Women always hated their husbands for being lecherous, but for their sons, they were always worried that there wouldn't be enough people to serve them. They were always so loyal to both sides. They complained about Jingwan in their hearts, but they also didn't dare to say anything. These people's reactions were reasonable. Jingwan was very calm and didn't care at all. No matter how those people praised, they could only enjoy their eyes. It was absolutely impossible for them to touch and eat. Great Elder Princess patted Jingwan's hand and said, "Don't worry about them. Men have bad habits, but women also have bad habits. The root of women's bad habits is that they know it's their men's problem, but they have to blame others and think that it's the outside vixens who seduce them and force themselves to become resentful women. As the saying goes, it takes two to clap. If it's not the men who have bad thoughts, how can the women outside cling on to them?" Great Elder Princess said and sneered. Jingwan was a little surprised by Great Elder Princess's words, but it was reasonable after thinking about it. After all, no matter what kind of environment and background people were in, there would always be some outliers. If everyone's thoughts were the same, then there would be no ups and downs in the long river of history. Jingwan smiled. It was always more pleasant to get along with people who could resonate with her thoughts. Great Elder Princess didn't suppress her voice at all, so there were many people who heard her words. However, at least 9 out of 10 of these people were successful in cultivation. It was even the most basic thing that they couldn't express their emotions. Therefore, even if they were flustered in their hearts, they could still smile decently on the surface. When it was finally time to leave, most of the afternoon had passed, and most people basically chose to leave at this time. When they left, there were not many people who needed Jingwan's help, but there were also quite a few. However, when some young ladies and young ladies talked to Jingwan, Jingwan always felt that they were a little sarcastic. Otherwise, they would look at her with hidden bitterness, as if she had done something very wrong to them. Jingwan couldn't help but have goosebumps all over her body. Then, she saw their elders frowning at them and apologizing to Jingwan with a smile, asking her not to mind and so on. Jingwan was still at a loss. She could only make perfunctory noises. Then, she recalled the incident at the opera house. She had forgotten about it. Now that she looked at it again, it was necessary for her to have a deeper understanding of it. She didn't want to ask others, but she could ask Nanny Gong. Firstly, Nanny Gong wouldn't hide it from her. Secondly, she had been here all the time, so she knew everything clearly. Nanny Gong told her everything in detail. After listening, Jingwan fell into a state of speechlessness for a while. Then, she cursed in her heart. "Your mother, what was this?" Ever since she married a certain person, that certain person's peach blossoms had basically never stopped. However, there was a premise, and that was that those people didn't know anything about the living king of hell. They only knew that he looked good and had a noble status, but they didn't know anything about his nature. Moreover, those peach blossoms bloomed one by one, unlike this time, where a large cluster bloomed all at once. Jingwan felt that perhaps this was just the beginning, and there were more and more lively things to come. It was said that Jin Qinhuang was dissolute and fond of beauty. In the past, the beauties by his side never stopped. However, after Jingwan came to the capital, the gossip about that certain person seemed to be from before she came to the capital. Even if he stopped releasing rumors at that time, it had been almost 2 years. After such a long time of fermentation, even a slow-witted person would have reacted. And today, his gentleness and consideration towards her became the fuse that completely blew up this matter. Jin Qinhuang cursed his wife, but wasn't she fine now? Moreover, he didn't say anything about cursing his concubines. With her at the front, what were they afraid of? Li Hongyuan didn't have a Zifei or concubines, but he was a Qinhuang. He had countless wealth, and even more, he had unfailing imperial favor. Even if he had a group of wives and concubines, it was a matter of course for people to think about him. Now, they were all gathered together. Even if Jingwan knew that he wouldn't have anyone else by his side, at least before he no longer loved her, it would be like this. And Jingwan was willing to believe that he would love her for a lifetime, so there was no need to worry about this problem. Jingwan's heart was still a little stingy. No matter who encountered this kind of thing, they wouldn't be happy. Those who stayed until the end were basically those closest to Jingwan. Because of the limitations of their status, those who couldn't talk to Jingwan before could now say a few words. Seeing that Jingwan's mood was a little strange, they naturally had to ask. Jingwan was very helpless. What else is there? My husband is too charming, attracting bees and butterflies, peach blossoms everywhere are. Sun Yijia and Yuan Qiao very unkindly covered their mouths and laughed. Hey, that's enough Don't be like this. Jingwan only felt her hands itch and wanted to pinch them. Isn't this Jin Qinhuang's matter? What are you worried about? Whether he rejects or accepts, it's all up to him. When that time comes, you can decide what to do. Sun Yijia said very straightforwardly. Jingwan chuckled. This matter can only have one result. Looking at your expression, I already know what the result will be. Then what else is there to say? It's purely a person worrying over nothing. Sun Yijia gracefully gave Jingwan a supercilious look. Yuan Qiao also laughed mischievously. That's right, you should listen to cousin-in-law. After all, cousin-in-law has a lot of experience in this area. That's right, the peach blossoms that bloomed outside of Luo Jingbua might not be as good as Li Hongyuan's in terms of quality, but the quantity was definitely far superior. Every time they went out, they would encounter some kind of situation. Moreover, without the lethality of the King of Hell, it could be said that those people simply had no way of stopping them. Sun Yijia had long been calm about this kind of thing and even specially prepared a box for her husband to bring back those things that were, accidentally, left on him. Moreover, they couldn't be found from the original owner of the body. There was no need to secretly deal with them. Now, it was almost filled to the brim. Sun Yijia was quite used to this kind of thing and was even able to deal with those people who directly came to find her. Jingwan didn't really care about it in the first place. Now, all the gloominess in this life had disappeared. However, she secretly warned herself in her heart that she had to appear very angry in front of a certain someone. Otherwise, according to that certain someone's character, he might think that she didn't care about him, and then his illness would act up and destroy her in a second. As for hiding it from him, it was unrealistic. She could hide it from him, but those people outside would also try their best to get close to him. When they were almost done talking, Great Elder Princess, Madame Luo, and the others came over. Sun Yijia and Yuan Qiao hurriedly bowed to them. Great Elder Princess nodded and held them up slightly. Get up. Her eyes lingered on Sun Yijia for a moment. Yijia, you look good now. You are much more popular than before. Sun Yijia smiled. Great Elder Princess, you're right. I'm really living a good life now. That's good. Just live a good life in the future and don't think too much about other things. Yes. Great Elder Princess's eyes fell on Jing-wan again. You know all about it? Jing-wan smiled and nodded. Yes. Don't you have any thoughts? Great Elder Princess teased Jing-wan with a little interest. I don't have such thoughts. It's just that I should be the one who should be angry when they covet my husband. Each and every one of them acted as if I had stolen their husband and treated me like a vixen. No matter how I think about it, it's a little strange, isn't it? Or I can't keep up with those people's thoughts. Now that I think about it, it feels like they are all wearing fashionable clothes, but I'm still wearing the clothes from 3 years ago. Jing-wan said with a smile. The others also laughed. Great Elder Princess touched Jing-wan's forehead modestly. You are so mischievous. You're an outsider, and they're locals in the capital. You stole them. Sun Yijia said with disdain. There's no time to force things in life. Those people are all at a dead end. If they were clear-headed, they wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Just wait and see. Those who are unhappy before will be even more unhappy when they go back today. They will suffer a lot before they know what's good for them. These people don't care about them, but I'm afraid that if they meet those who love their daughters, they will directly beg my brother. You're the only one in Hong Yuan's backyard. If they really ask my brother, he won't refuse. Great Elder Princess reminded her. Foster mother, don't worry. Father won't refuse, provided that the Lord agrees. We all know what kind of person the Lord is. If he doesn't agree, he will still refuse the people sent by my father. Seeing that Jing-wan was so confident, Great Elder Princess seemed to understand something. Maybe this is your luck. Jing-wan smiled and didn't say anything. In her heart, she was sure that maybe God really favored her. Of course, one day in the future, when Jing-wan knew the whole truth, she probably wouldn't think so. Her luck was not because of God but because of him. Well, as long as you know it in your heart, I'll go back first. Then Yu Yao, who had been depressed since the death of the little tiger, came to find her. Yu Yao, foster mother has agreed to let you raise the little tiger and the little lion. Can you take them back directly? Yu Yao shook her head. Cousin-in-law, I don't want to raise them. I just took care of the little tiger for a while, and it died. I may not be able to raise it well. I don't want anything to happen to the little tiger and the little lion. Jing-wan touched her head. It's not Yu Yao's fault, and it's not that I didn't take good care of them. I believe that Yu Yao will be able to raise them well. Besides, if you raise them in Great Elder Princess's mansion, what happened today will never happen again. Yu Yao was a little hesitant. Then, can I come back to pick them up later? Was she worried that when she saw them, she would think of the dead one? No, I can't. After being raised by me for a while, they will be familiar with my aura. If I take them back, they won't be familiar with me, and it will be difficult for them to be close to me. Take them back. I'll help you raise them together. Great Elder Princess didn't want her daughter to be depressed. Although it was more likely that she would think of something when she saw it, if she had something to do, she could distract her attention and the sadness would go away faster. In this way, Yu Yao didn't hesitate anymore. However, she didn't expect that what she took away in the end was the body of the little tiger. After Great Elder Princess was sent away, except for Yuan Qiao Qiao, the rest were all members of the Luo family. Jing-wan didn't need to ask whether there were any male guests left, because the Luo family wouldn't stay for too long. Jing-wan naturally seized the time to learn about the situation of the Luo family. First of all, the concubine's younger sister's marriage had basically been settled, which was Xie Renhui. As for the younger sister, she was far from being old enough. When they talked about marriage, the overall situation might have been settled, then they would have better choices. Among the siblings of this generation, the second son of the eldest branch was born by a concubine. He was the same age as Jing-wan, but a little younger than Jing-wan. He was also 16 this year. However, as a man, it didn't matter if he didn't get married. Although there were many people who wanted to settle down because of the good situation in the Luo family now, the Luo family insisted. Later, they learned that the younger Madame Wang was pregnant again. It hadn't been long since she was diagnosed, so her cousin and the members of the first branch were very happy. Jingwan was not so optimistic, mainly because she was worried that the child would be unwell when her cousin got married. However, it was a happy event, so Jingwan couldn't dampen their spirits. She just smoothly changed the topic to the third branch. Luo Rongping was paralyzed and could only lie in bed for the rest of his life. Madame Lu was calmer now and took care of him more carefully. Luo Rongping finally accepted the reality and no longer made trouble. It was much better than the beginning when he was paralyzed. Then there was Luo Jingying. Well, it was Luo Xiying's birthday now. Tomorrow was her 16th birthday. It was just that she was sitting in front of a lamp and sitting in front of a statue of Buddha. She didn't want to come out of it herself, but there was nothing she could do. But looking at Madame Lu's expression, she should be getting better. By the time Li Hongyuan came over, the Luo family had already taken their leave. Jingwan was a little resentful of someone who drove away her family. She stared at Li Hongyuan faintly. "What's wrong? Do you have something to say to your husband?" Li Hongyuan looked at Jingwan with a seductive smile. However, this smile didn't charm Jingwan. Instead, it woke Jingwan up immediately. The expression on her face became more and more unpleasant. She even reached out and poked Li Hongyuan's chest. "Tell me, why do you seduce women all day long?" Jingwan praised herself for her wit in her heart. However, Li Hongyuan looked at her suspiciously. "What do you mean by that? When did it happen?" "You don't know?" Jingwan's resentment deepened. "Well, Wan told me clearly, and I knew." Li Hongyuan calmly held her hand. Then, Jingwan angrily scolded him about the peach blossoms outside. Li Hongyuan was not affected by her mood. On the contrary, he looked at the expression on her face with great interest. When Jingwan finished speaking, he reached out and pinched her face. Wan, do you know what you're pretending to be in front of your husband?" Jingwan's expression was slightly cracked. She thought that her acting had always been good. "However, seeing that you're working so hard to please your husband, I'll be generous and let it go since you don't care about it." Perhaps it was because it felt too good, he couldn't help but pinch it again. "Hey, if you want to deceive your husband, you still need to practice more. However, when one day Wan can deceive your husband, I believe that there's no one in the world that Wan can't deceive. Work hard, your husband is optimistic about you." Jingwan was really depressed this time. "What are you talking about?" She pinched Li Hongyuan's waist. Unfortunately, not only were they separated by clothes, but because his flesh was too hard, she couldn't pinch him at all. Alright, Jingwan also knew that because her mentality was different, and because she didn't want to deceive him at all, her acting naturally couldn't deceive him. Li Hongyuan smiled and didn't continue to pester her on this matter. "In a few days, let's go to the farmstead and stay for a while. We'll stay there until we don't want to." Speaking of the farmstead, Jingwan suddenly remembered something that she had forgotten. "Has the horse farm been built?" "You only remembered it now? It was built long ago." In addition, the rare animals garden has also been built. Compared to the animals in the mansion, those are all adults and not limited to the animals on the ground. There are many animals that fly in the sky and swim in the water. Jingwan looked at Li Hongyuan and was sure that he wasn't joking. She resisted the urge to hold her forehead. This man was really, every time he played big. According to his words, it was not as simple as a zoo. At present, the cost of building such a garden was absolutely beyond imagination. Jingwan felt that Emperor Lu Chengdi, who indulged him in every way, would scold him for being extravagant after knowing this matter, and those courtiers who turned a blind eye to him might want to criticize him. "Can't you take it easy? Take it easy?" "What's that?" Jingwan was once again defeated by this capricious and overbearing man. However, it was already built. Could it be torn down? That would be a true waste of natural resources. That would be a shameful waste that could not be tolerated. "All right, it's already built. If I don't take a closer look and play around, I really would be letting myself down." In any case, she was being led by a certain person to live extravagant days, so she shouldn't think about poor days. There was still some time before the sun set in the west. Jingwan pulled Li Hongyuan and prepared to rest. She had been drunk at the banquet. Her mind might be good, but her body was faintly resisting. Halfway back to the main yard, a message came from the front. He Zhihai and young general he had come with gifts to congratulate Wang Fei on her birthday. Today's banquet naturally included the He family. He Zhihai was not present. Before this, there was no news of him returning to Jing. So, he came to visit as soon as he came back? Li Hongyuan watched as Jingwan walked back. Are you going to see him? Wang Ye doesn't want me to see him? Jingwan smiled faintly. If Wang Ye doesn't want me to see him, then I won't see him. Li Hongyuan clicked his tongue. He was quite assured that Jingwan would see He Zhihai. That boy definitely wouldn't have any thoughts about Wan. He Zhihai was covered in wind and frost. He brought a few soldiers with him. From the looks of it, he hadn't returned to the He family and came to Jin Wangfu first. Although He Zhihai was an official now, his old man still didn't give him the right to lead troops. True New Mountains troops were already crippled this time. Therefore, He Zhenwei also submitted a request to return to Jing. He Zhihai wasn't restricted by anything for the time being. Therefore, he came back very quickly and no one knew. He Zhihai looked the same as when he left Jing. After all, it was only 2 months, so there wasn't much change. However, those who had come into contact with him before and after would keenly discover that he was different. This kind of change might not be obvious normally, but once he was on the battlefield, he would gradually evolve into a war god. This was what Li Hongyuan wanted. Therefore, he was naturally satisfied with He Zhihai's change. After He Zhihai gave his greetings, he casually took out the gift prepared for Jingwan. In an iron cage, there was a snow-white fox. Whether it was the appearance or the smell, it all showed that this fox was a fragrant fox. It was similar in size to the one that Li Hongyuan gave to Jingwan. He Zhihai didn't know Jingwan's birthday, but this was indeed a gift for Jingwan. As a fan of Jin Wangfu, he didn't know what to give to Li Hongyuan. He inadvertently obtained this fragrant fox and decided to flatter Jin Wangfei in a roundabout way. Husband and wife were one body, so it was the same to flatter either one. On this point, He Zhihai hit the mark by a fluke. After all, the number of husband and wife who weren't one body was far greater than the number of husband and wife who were one body. It was just that this fragrant fox didn't look too good. He Zhihai put the cage on the table and scratched his head. The journey was a bit fast, so it doesn't seem to be very good. There shouldn't be any problems, right? He said uncertainly, these things are delicate. Jingwan couldn't help but twitch the corner of her mouth. What kind of little overlord was this? This was clearly an idiot. Who would give a sickly animal as a gift? Especially when the other party's status was far higher than their own. This wasn't giving a gift, this was a curse. If it was another person, 8 or 9 out of 10 people would think that you had malicious intentions. If your intentions were murderous, maybe they would kill you in minutes. How big was this he little overlord's heart that he would send this in front of the living king of hell? Li Hongyuan's face really was a bit dark, especially when this was something that was given to his wife. Jingwan covered the corner of her mouth and hurriedly called for the person who specialized in looking after the fragrant fox to come over and see the specific situation of this little thing. She hoped that it was all right. Otherwise, He Zhihai would definitely suffer. The person came quickly. After a careful examination, there was no big problem. It would be fine after a period of time. According to the person who raised the fox, the vitality of the fragrant fox was much stronger than people imagined. Jingwan's heart calmed down a bit. This idiot. Li Hongyuan's expression also calmed down, but it didn't mean that he was completely calm. He stood up. Martial arts practice field, I want to see whether your martial arts have improved or not. Although he said it in such a dignified way, it didn't change the fact that he wanted to teach He Zhihai a lesson. He Zhihai was immediately excited, as if his whole body was burning. Jingwan's face was paralyzed. Sure enough, he was an idiot. Jingwan stood up slowly. Although she knew that he really didn't have any bad intentions, she didn't mind a yuan teaching him a lesson. Jingwan went back to the main courtyard to sleep comfortably. The fight between the living king of hell and little overlord he was quite exciting and also quite satisfying. Even though little gangster he was still being suppressed, Li Hongyuan's suppression on him was much weaker than it was at the beginning of the fight. Only Li Hongyuan knew clearly about He Zhihai's improvement. Before he left Jing City for the northeast border city, his improvement was obvious. It could only be said that his improvement actually came from his stronger heart. Even though He Zhihai was lying on the ground for a long time and couldn't move, he was still very excited. However, he was still thrown out by Li Hongyuan. He Zhihai was used to being thrown out. He Zhihai didn't feel anything. He didn't want to get up, so he asked the bodyguard to carry him back. He Zhihai was carried back to the He family. The He family was scared. The surprise of them coming back early was gone in a flash. What happened? Did something happen on the way back? The bodyguard hurriedly denied and then quickly explained the matter clearly. After listening, Old Madam He and Old Madam He had the same expression. They didn't say anything. They just beat this bastard again. Look at what this bastard did. This kind of person deserved to be beaten to death. When He Zhihai was fighting with Li Hongyuan, he was very excited. But he didn't say anything. Now he was beaten by his own mother and grandmother. Even though the former felt more pain than the latter. On the other side, Jingwan slept for a while. After she woke up, she was applying medicine for Li Hongyuan. In the past, when she fought with He Zhihai, she would get injured from time to time. Although except for the first time, there were no obvious injuries. But this time, there were more bruises. Jingwan didn't say anything. She applied medicine to his bruises bit by bit. Finally, Jingwan said, "In the future, can you not fight with me anymore?" Although he didn't even blink his eyes, but Jingwan still felt distressed. "Okay." Li Hongyuan answered straightforwardly. Jingwan was a bit speechless. It wasn't the first time she said this. In the past, she didn't get this kind of answer. https://www.beacon.com/11/11807/10751271. HTML. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.beacon.com. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.